Thank you, sir. First, we have for you this evening, technology. Mr. Clyde.
That would be me. I'm Paul.
This is our technology director, Paul.
Yeah. I could go through, I have this whole spiel down here with bullet lists. Can you tell I'm uncomfortable with it? Okay, anyway. When I took this job, or was offered the job, I want to say it was 2017, the network was that we didn't have a network, really didn't have any Wi-Fi. What Wi-Fi we had was wide open, no security, even at the FBA, just frankly. First thing I did was secure all the Wi-Fi. And all the elementary schools were on residential data plans. Tufton Borough and Effingham only had 5 megs down and 2 megs up. I don't know how they did anything. They were all, I call them little lost children because there was no connectivity. We actually had to drive. We couldn't do anything. So, long story short, what we have now is a redundant dark and lit fiber network with main distribution frame here at the Kingswood campus and one in Ossipee, which is our failover. So if we lose Kingswood, we'll lose data in the complex, but the rest of the district will remain. Yeah, that's my long story short. Lots of Wi-Fi. We have Wi-Fi everywhere. It's all secure. We use radio authentication. We'll be moving to certificate-based next summer, which is good. A lot more secure. Yeah, that's about it. Also built up the team, because when I started, it was just myself and one other person. He was part-time. So we were busy. And now I have 3 techs, an equipment manager, that's how it's titled, systems administrator, a network administrator, assistant IT director. So there's 8 of us all together, which is still not a lot, but we can manage because we have some remote software so we can access the other districts. We do pretty well. So that will bring us to the software line. I mean, wherever you guys want to start here, but I've added some things to our software line. And it's basically monitoring through the firewall because we can't be here 24/7. So what we're looking at, we use FortiGate. There's a thing called FortiGate. Hang on a minute. I have it right here. Security Operations Center as a Service, 40 subs. So they'll monitor us 24/7. And we'll be notified immediately of anything like what just happened. Which is good. They won't remediate it. They'll stop it. And they'll provide us with follow-up instructions on what to do with the notification that something is happening. That's one of the big deals. That's something that we really need to have. It's a fairly large ticket item. Another one is FortiAnalyzer that works hand in hand with the SOC as a service, and that allows us. They described it as one-stop shopping. It's one panel that we can just look at while we're in the office, and we can see everything that's going on with both the firewalls, the data traffic, and that sort of thing. The demo was really, really good. The third one for Fortinet is what they call FortiDeceptor. And FortiDeceptor, their words, it's a honeypot for the bad guys. It acts like something available, so if you're looking to attack our network, you'll see this, and you'll think, hey, I'm going to go after that. And they'll block those IP addresses. That's another large ticket item because we need one for every one of our VLANs. So that's probably the biggest number just added, right, along with the other software ways that I have. Those are the newest things. And the rest of my software line is the typical GoGuardian YBot. YBot is the devices we use to monitor our Wi-Fi. So if we're having a problem with it, we've got 5 YBot units that we have to keep licensed. We can move them around in the district and put them up in whatever building we may be having a problem in, and we can use that to determine any types of Wi-Fi, which is it's a very helpful tool. Student data privacy, Google Workspace for Education Plus. We're paying for, and that gives us all the bells and whistles that everybody's become used to with Google. That's kind of a must-have at this point. Our phones, although the phone system was fairly inexpensive, the phones themselves, but most of them are going to, you actually have to license the workstations. So licensing for phones is the thing now that's starting to come due. It's not horrible, but something we have to do. Sophos Fish Threat, that's Sophos is our antivirus. And Fish Threat is an add-on that I use to send out phishing emails, small phishing emails, receiving calls to them. You guys probably have all seen that. Yeah, you know, we've all seen that. Nobody here has ever fallen. But those go out actually. I have reoccurring cases every 3 weeks. I tend to do those out just to see. And you know, quite frankly, that's helped so much with phishing emails, and so many people forward. I'm never going to stop doing that, but they will send me emails. I just got this, you know, and it's wonderful. Yep. And I watch. You can see the numbers from when I started to do this independently. We catch very few people now, whereas before it was a few hundred. But yeah, it's good. Keeping everybody on their toes. DocStar. That is, how do I explain DocStar? DocStar will be used by, it's a software that HR uses now, and special ed can add on with this new service. They basically can go paperless with DocStar. The workflows, it's amazing. And signatures, it's all there. It's just wonderful, and it all sits up in DocStar. DocStar is actually, they're local here in New Hampshire. They'll drive right up and give trainings. You know, I think they're 2 hours, maybe Londonderry. Yeah, so they've been wonderful, and we've used it for quite a few years.
Since before
HR has been using it, yeah, for a long
but we're
time.
doing it more so that we can scan old terminated employees, we
Right.
can scan their files.
They can create forms, web forms now, instead of sending out the papers, emailing back and forth for people to fill out these papers. The web form can do it all as part of the workflow. I think it'll save a lot of time, certainly save a lot of paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, Monit, CBT Nuggets, that's a thing that's a training for my people. So they've got the ability to take this 48 stuff. There's all kinds of stuff, networking, systems admin that they're taking. I'm pretty good about it. Monit is, I implemented Monit maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and those are systems in all the refrigerators and freezers around the district that will alert temperature changes exceeded, or you know, if something's wrong. The food service director will get an email for that. And let's see, PDQ. PDQ is imaging software. I can't quite remember what PDQ means, but it allows us to image over wireless and through cable. In the summer, when we re-image every single laptop, every desktop we have in the summer, so we can create the images that we need on PDQ. We can have multiple images and push those out to the computers that we need. Say the business labs, we need different software, the Adobe Suite and the Photoshop area. So we can create these and just with a click push them to all the computers at once and get them imaging. And it also manages Windows updates, which is something we haven't had before. for. So we'll be able to push out updates and restart everybody's computers every 5 minutes. Not every 5 minutes. If we have the ability to. Yeah, I know. But we can, so finally we'll be able to keep up. A lot of the problems, a lot of the tickets that we have with laptops is due to the fact that they're out of date. We don't have a way to push out updates on those cards. So that'll solve that problem. And that's my software. That's the speed of that one. But the biggest ones were all the FortiGate stuff. I just added that yesterday. I reached out to the vendors. They got me quotes right away. I had several meetings with them. I was looking at avoid specific firewalls. I'm not convinced we need to spend the money on that with the FortiGate firewalls that we have. We've updated policies. We've made changes. FortiGate, I mean, it's a good firewall for enterprise environments like ours. It's something we can do later, but right now I just don't think we need to do it with the rest of the things we have in place in the monitoring to get a jump on it. So we were fortunate that we had T&T was working on the system on Veterans Day when you called me, you noticed something in the system. So we were able to get right on top of that with the monitoring software. Will make you feel a lot better about that. Yep.
Any questions? I'm wondering also, Paul, if you could explain a little bit about the E-rate, the reimbursement.
E-rate, yes,
You have some big
absolutely.
reductions.
So we're in the process now of replacing the switching at the Kingswood campus, which went in probably in 2011. It's pretty old. It's due. We're not getting any more firmware updates for those. So everything that I've done in all these years, I've always tried to use the E-rate program. So we're responsible for the money up front to purchase this. We're reimbursed the following year. And we're usually between 65 and 70% reimbursement for that. So all the buildings that were rewired, I had every building in the district recabled, Cat6, and all my switching, all of that stuff, everything I can do with E-rate I do. And I believe they're changing, they haven't done it yet, so my software for FortiGate isn't covered yet, but they're changing the rules to allow for these software costs from the firewall. So that'll make a big difference when these licenses come due again. We just did the firewall last year for a 5-year term. And these are all 3-year terms that I have here. So when we get closer, we'll co-term everything and hopefully be able to use E-rate for that.
Any questions? Technology?
Thank you. My only question is, so I see that, and this might be more of a Kathy question, for budget 2026, we appropriated as for the bottom line for the tech district-wide budget, $717,000. I have in my document for last year that what was proposed with cuts for 2026 was $617,400.
There have been some budget transfers, and that's what the software picks up. I
Okay.
have no control on not allowing the budget 26 column to not take the budget transfers.
Got it. So we had to transfer over throughout the year that's about $100,000 that we transferred over into that budget.
It would have been a default budget too. So remember, 26
Oh
is
yeah,
default.
that's what we proposed was our
So
actual.
if there's any budget transfers, they always are reflected in this column, and we have the default budget.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Okay, because I noticed what we proposed in 2026 is $617,400, and what we're proposing this year is $636,122, which I don't know what the percentage of that is, but it's certainly probably somewhere about 5%, if about just roughly guessing without doing the math. of what we proposed last year versus what we're proposing
He
this year.
He knew what he was proposing last year was less, and yet your default budget was higher, which we were grateful for.
Yeah, because we had.
Thank you, because I identified where he was over, meaning he didn't need as much, and the SAU for the implementation of absence management and substitute calling really needed that sense. I had built that into the budget, and it was a default budget, so we've been sharing.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I have that in actual for 2024 was 484,360.52, and we had our approved 2025 budget was 717,908. Then we proposed 617,400. That went into default, so it went back to the 717.
Yeah, so it's right there. There were no budget transfers. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Default and
So
budget transfer.
So then we eventually transferred about $100,000 out towards other things when we went to default. Or
Actually, no. So you were correct. Budget 2025 is 717,000, and that's what the default is. That's how default is created, unless it's plus or minus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same exact number. So no, there was no transferring out. I actually, because it's district-wide, and because we're using the software for substitute management and whatnot, I can pull from that line. I didn't do a budget transfer because it's a district-wide thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
And there were no budget transfers in here, but in this column, if there have been budget transfers, that's what shows here is the adjusted. I have no control, and I've asked the software if I can get the adopted column, and they said no.
Okay, well that makes sense.
For this purpose, you can't.
So compared to what we're proposing, what we proposed last year, which obviously that wasn't what ended up being appropriated because default budget overrules that. So because we went to default, we ended up appropriating $100,000 more than we felt was necessary. But just comparing what we wanted to appropriate last year to now, it seems to be a pretty minimal increase. So I just want to point that out because it looks like based on what we probably expended for fiscal year 25, that Paul's budget is going down 100,000, but we proposed it to go down about 100,000 last year.
And we did have the budget freeze, and that did include Paul. If it wasn't absolutely necessary, again, everyone had to freeze.
Yeah. I have no questions other than that, Dr. Jen. I just want to clarify to have everyone understand that.
May I make a comment?
You guys have a lot of trouble. Oh, Mary, Gavin was talk.
I just want to thank you, Mary Shilleroff, off duty. So thank you and the work that you all did to secure the school district. I learned a lot about that, and just want to take the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Technology? I'll start with technology. Yes, thank you for all your hard work, especially over the past week. And your whole team, Herculean feat. They were amazing.
They didn't bump in anything, whatever we had to do.
Into the night, every night.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we move into the curriculum budget. You know, I have Danny on here, but I think our assistant superintendent can present just fine.
This is the season. I'm pleased to present the Curriculum Instruction and Assessment Fiscal Year 27 proposed budget to this committee this evening. I primarily oversee ESOL, or English as a Second Language, Vicky Navento, and the Director of Curriculum, and she and I work to support curriculum instruction and assessment for K-12, approximately 2,400 students. This includes all 4 subject areas, as well as specialist teachers, electives, and teachers of non-core departments, reading specialists, and our math coaches. The proposed budget that you see in front of you reflects priority instructional resource needs identified through our ongoing curriculum reviews and task force work in science, reading, and literacy. Overall, we have an increase of $18,646. $6.40, or approximately an 11% increase. This is primarily due to 3 larger requests. First, the district has used mystery science for grades K through 5 for the past decade at roughly $5,000 per year. While engaging, it does not fully meet state rigor expectations and requires teachers to modify assessments. The Science Task Force is currently reviewing mystery science alongside another K through 8 alternative. Mystery science now costs $7,000 a year. The alternative costs $8,400, but it does provide better content and rigor alignment. To ensure adequate funding for the most comprehensive option, we request the $8,400 in the next fiscal year for a new K through 6 science resource. The second driver is writing. Our current writing resource, which was purchased in 2013, provides only limited mini lessons and is no longer sufficient. The Language Arts Task Force started reviewing writing resources last year and is currently reviewing 3 more robust K through 6 writing programs, estimated at approximately $34,000 to $36,000 total. We are proposing a 2-year implementation for both fiscal and professional support reasons. As such, we request $18,000 in fiscal year 27 to implement in grades 3 through 6, with grades K through 2 to follow in fiscal year 2028. The third major driver is our science of reading implementation at K through 3. We have been seeing positive results with this implementation, but it requires 35 to 50 decodable books per student, which teachers have been printing in-house at significant cost in time, paper, and supplies. Although funding for printed decodables was requested last year, the budget did not pass, so printing has remained in-house. I am told that Kelly Colby-CV shared a stack of these booklets last night to illustrate the volume currently produced per student. And a pilot using the New Hampshire Department of Corrections printing office was first funded through ESSER 3, and we found that it substantially reduced the cost and the staff workload. We actually went out and did bids at various printing offices, and they had the best results. To continue these efficiencies, we request $16,000 in this proposed budget to outsource the decodable printing. These increases that you see in front of you are offset by reductions in other instructional materials, including math and literacy teacher guides that have already been purchased for grades K through 8 and K through 3 respectively, or reducing licenses for Seesaw based on teacher usage. And for those who don't know, since Seesaw is an online platform that is used among our K through 6 population, but not exclusively. This proposal supports high-quality instructional resources while maintaining responsible fiscal management. I also want to take a few minutes to address McKinney-Vento, as that is another part of my position that I oversee. The district is experiencing a rise in the number of students eligible for McKinney-Vento services, with 95 identified homeless students last year, and indications that this number will increase again this year. As of today, we have 71 students already identified, and we are only a quarter of the way through the year. The McKinney-Vento Homeless Liaison ensures that students experiencing homelessness are identified quickly, enrolled immediately, and provided with the supports necessary to fully participate in school. She coordinates transportation, often among multiple responsible parties. Excuse me. She assists homeless students in getting enrolled immediately, even without required documents, and aids families in obtaining missing documents. She removes barriers to academic and extracurricular programs. The liaison leads best interest determinations, manages the dispute resolution process, and ensures students remain enrolled and supported throughout any of those disagreements. Additionally, she provides outreach to families and unaccompanied youth, connects them with community resources, collaborates with shelters and service agencies, conducts annual staff training on the signs of homelessness and reporting procedures, and supports unaccompanied homeless youth with enrollment, services such as accessing health insurance, and transitioning planning, which includes FAFSA verification. If you've ever been through anything with FAFSA, it's a headache. Finally, she works in consultation with me to maintain compliance with state and federal reporting requirements. This level of need requires consistent coordinated supports, and the McKinney-Vento liaison role is legally required to ensure compliance with federal law and to meet the needs of our most vulnerable students. Currently, the liaison position is grant funded. However, grant allocations have decreased over each year, making it increasingly difficult to fully cover the liaison's salary, along with other legally mandated costs such as homeless transportation. Grant funds must also cover essential supplies, tutoring, and other supports for students experiencing homelessness. With these reductions, we have relied heavily on diminishing carryover grant funds to maintain that position. Rising transportation expenses, which must be provided regardless of distance or cost, and which special education also finds as a particular challenge, are further eroding these limited carryover dollars. With additional grant cuts expected next year, it is unlikely that we will be able to sustain this legally required position through grant funding alone. Given the increasing number of students requiring McKinney-Vento services and the essential nature of the liaison's responsibilities, we are proposing to move the McKinney-Vento liaison into the district budget to ensure stability, compliance, and the continuity of support. While this position is not part of the curriculum instruction and assessment budget lines you see before you, I did want to share this concern because I do oversee the services, and I wasn't present Tuesday evening when Dr. Eric Kellyan discussed the personnel requests. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions you have about these or other items in the budget. Principals really wore you out.
Go ahead, Al.
No, definitely let them go first, because I'm usually the only one to ask questions. So my question is, we got from Danielle Harvey a good presentation, or I should say an informative presentation on district scores, the test scores that are often, discussed in the public and, amongst board members and everything. And I'm wondering, we've made significant investments in curriculum. I'm wondering when we're going to start to see the fruits of that bear. Because obviously we want to improve. I said at that meeting, at our board meeting in Ossipee in November, beginning of the first Monday in November, that I view us as at least an average, if not above average district, and I would like our test scores to reflect that. I understand test scores are not the end all be all. They don't actually measure whether or not students are truly competent, how successful they're going to be in the world. Almost every graduate that we have who leaves things with, almost every student graduates and they all become successful and good citizens and participate in the economy and have good paying jobs. But I'm just wondering how it seems as if our scores were increasing coming out of COVID, and now it seems like they're kind of plateauing. How can we get back to increasing? And when we make investments like this, what's a timeline so we can tell residents and taxpayers, look, we saw that we took some step back in our science scores, and we saw that our writing scores have kind of plateaued, but we're making these investments in the curriculum, and we're investing in having, good quality teachers here. In your expertise, how can we portray to the taxpayers that this the 8.4K for the science curriculum, the 18K for the K through 6, which will be 18K this year, and then we'll have to deal with another 18K for next year. And in the science of reading, 16K, where we have seen continued growth. Our reading scores have continued every year on the board.
Yes.
I've seen it go up, so that's maybe the science of reading might be an example of that. I'm kind of rambling now,
Yeah,
but
absolutely. I mean, so the science of reading with K through 3, those students have really yet to be tested in state testing because it started so young. It started K through 3, and our state testing doesn't start until grade 3. So we're not going to see that bear out quite yet, just by virtue of the nature that those students aren't being state tested yet.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the state test is one metric. There are other ways to measure success. And there are other ways academically to measure success. It's not just that one test. But I think I think you will hear teachers say that, you know, their students are reading better already. The younger students are reading more fluently. So that bodes well for when they are going to be reaching state testing grades. We just have to, we have to wait for them to reach those grades. And we're already using the decodables. We're already investing a lot of money into decodables and time. This is just a more efficient use of resources, is to have the State Department of Corrections do that.
Oh, the decodables those are
The decodables, correct.
The books that
Yes.
children utilize for
Yes.
science and reading.
In terms of writing, we haven't, they used this writing, the current writing program that, and I'm going to use program loosely, it's a book, that was in place the year that I got here. They had purchased that the spring before I got here. So we haven't had something since then. And our state scores reflect that, because we don't have a strong writing program in place, and our ELA scores take writing and reading, and they put it together for a composite score. And so without a strong writing program, half of your score is going to reflect that. Is a program going to solve it all? No, you need strong instruction with it. But if you don't have a strong program and no strong instruction with it, it's not going to help. But that's part of it. And the third, science. We have found over the past 2 years, as we've dug into the assessment during our CAA meetings, is that mystery science is very engaging. Kids love Mystery Duck. My boys love Mystery Duck. But we've had to, but the assessments that teachers have been using don't align to the rigor of the standards. And so what that means is that when kids are tested at the end of the year in grades 5, 8, and 11, of course, it means that all along we've been testing them at this level, but the state assessment is testing them at this level. And so we haven't been adequately preparing them. And so our instruction and our assessments along the way have not been preparing them for what the state tests and what our state standards have been asking of them.
Thank you, that does clarify a lot of things for me.
Can I add one other thing
Yeah,
about the
of course.
science test? I have said, and teachers will echo, the science state assessment is as much a reading assessment as it is a science assessment, and it is a difficult reading assessment. There are a lot of double negatives, and it is very complicated in terms of the reading of it. I have taken it and I have struggled, not the content, the reading part of it, just the format, the words themselves and how they're set up, the use of double negatives. It is challenging. But if we can at least get our students, that's half the battle, and we can work on giving our students practice in that. But if our instruction and the resource that we have is putting them on this level, and what they're being assessed on is on this level, that's the other half.
Yeah.
I have another question.
Go.
Thank you. And something that I've, as a lay person who doesn't work in curriculum, who works a much different job than education, it seems to me, and I'd like to know your thoughts, that it seems as if we're under-investing in being able to measure what our students know. It seems as if we are waiting, towards when we get closer to these state standardized tests, which again are just one metric. It seems as if that we need to be continuously keeping tabs more, and maybe potentially having a better system for how we are knowing that our students are hitting specific metrics throughout the school year and towards the end of the year. Maybe I'm incorrect, but it seems as if some of our systems are suggesting students are, at that state level or above, but then they're tested, and I get not everyone's a perfect test taker, but it just still seems as if that we still don't have enough, our internal testing is not matching what the state standardized testing is portraying. And obviously, at the end of the day, taxpayers aren't going to our website, to our curriculum development, webpage and things like that, our curriculum webpage, or contacting the building principal or the teacher and saying, hey, can I see, what the internal testing's looking like? They get the letter on their child, or they're going to the state website if they don't have a child enrolled in the school district, and they're just looking at basically the whole pool of children who have been, taking the standardized test the years that it's required, and that's what their baseline is for what, whether or not our school district is, quote, successful or not, is just based on the standardized testing that's taken not regularly and doesn't seem totally in line with how we're measuring success.
Correct. And so that's that internal work that we've alluded to at the board meeting, of working with teachers, especially at the high, the high school has quite a bit of work to do, but making sure that the middle school and to some extent the elementary school is definitely aligned with the expectations, the learning expectations are aligned to the state standard. Our internal assessments are aligned to state standards, so that when you are measuring students internally, you are aligned to the level of rigor that they will be assessed on, at the state level. Now, that doesn't mean that at day 1 or day 3 or day 5 that you're assessing them against end of year standards. You have to adjust accordingly, but that you're building toward that, and that you're not falling short and only ever measuring them below, because you have to hold them to that standard, and build toward that standard. The other thing is that we have ways, if your goal is to prepare them for a state assessment, and we have tools that are free to prepare them for that. And actually, part of what I built over the past couple of years is in our math assessment system was to use those free tools as part of our assessment suite. And so we have internal math assessments that we have, but we also have access to modules that are modeled on part of the state assessment suite. And so part of it was students would be using those during the year, so teachers could use those, and students would have access to questions that were aligned to state standards, that we know are aligned to state standards and were modeled in a format that they would see on the test at the end of the year, but were specific to a particular set of standards around, for example, geometry or fractions or number, whatever it had to be. So we do have access to those, and teachers can use those more than we've set as our baseline. So we have ways to kind of benchmark it.
My only fear, and I personally do not like standardized tests. I think they're a very poor way of measuring success, and I think they're taken completely out of context for what they're actually measuring. So I want to stress that. I think it's a big mistake for them that we measure our students based on one test that they took one day, where we don't know what was happening in their personal lives or what has happened in their academic year, that maybe they had some setbacks because of other things, and that we're going to measure the success of the district and the outcome of all the students based on, one day of testing for one, not even the entire district, one group of students in the district. But with that said, though, my only fear is as we, as there's a public expectation, and even, I think there are some board members that have an expectation that we chase these benchmarks to make sure all of our students are meeting these benchmarks for, for content that they're going to see on the state standardized test. How do we ensure that we're not teaching to the test or making the job of our staff members, our professional staff, feel as if that they are just ensuring that we're checking off the boxes that the students know things are on the test? Because to me, that just seems like a disservice in some ways to public education. Maybe the answer is it's difficult. We have to balance both, making sure they know the things that are going to be on the test, but also allowing creativity and exploration to other academic subjects. But it's how do we strike that balance, making sure we're teaching content that they must know to take the test successfully and to meet state standards, but also not turn into this formulaic, bureaucratic, we've made sure the students have checked off the boxes, now let's move into the next grade.
So when you're talking about state testing is they are assessing students in a very specific way. But the content, the content is the content. Like, we have to teach students the content, but how we teach students the content, there is so much autonomy and creativity, and how students along and throughout the year demonstrate competency in that content, there is where we have a lot of creativity and a lot of autonomy. And so throughout the year, that's where we have the flexibility to say, students have to be able to demonstrate that they can compare and contrast, two different concepts and be able to show, something. The standardized test, because it's a test and it's done on a computer, it's going to have to be done in a very formulaic way. And if you can't, for students, it's going to be limiting. But throughout the year, that's where we as teachers can say, you could make a podcast. You could do that in a skit. You could do that in a traditional essay format. You could do that there are myriad of ways of how a student could demonstrate competency. And there are myriads of ways of how teachers can instruct students. That's where we have the flexibility, and students can have different, pathways is a kind of a key word we use here. That's where we have the flexibility, and that's where we can say, not all students learn the same way, and not all students are going to be able to demonstrate competency in the same way, or should have to demonstrate competency in the same way. A standardized test is standard in that they have to demonstrate competency in the same way. That's what makes it standardized. And that's the unfortunate piece of our standardized test. But the beauty of our school and the beauty of our system is that they don't all have to demonstrate competency in the same way. But they have to show competency. And what we have to be better at is, how do we demonstrate to our community that students have demonstrated competency in different ways beyond the standardized test?
I was just thinking, Katie, you hit a nail on the head that I've said about for years. I don't like testing, and I don't like teaching to test it. Because the thing is, like you just said, not every kid can do that testing. Some of them just can't do it. And whether we like it or not, they can't do it. And the thing is, the negatives in that case, we're in the minority, but they do tend to draw down the majority fast. In other words, it's not like 2 votes for yes, 1 vote for no. It's 2 votes for yes, but 1 vote for no overrides 2 votes for yes. That's the problem. And there's no answer. Our legislature is so far off the deep end on this that, they don't want to be crazy nuts, now they want to straighten it out. So, no, when it comes to that, I think you guys are doing the job the way it should be done. And I really wish we had a little bit more. One of the ways, I'll give you this example. I have 2 daughters. The older one, teaches in the school district, went to St. Thomas. St. Thomas gave her a great education, but Bridget went here. Merrill didn't go. Merrill went to a college that was very good. And Assumption's a good school. I'm not going to argue with that. Yeah, but Bridget went to Wheaton. And there's a hell of a difference between Wheaton. I don't mean Wheaton in Illinois. I mean Wheaton in Massachusetts. And she got a 4-year scholarship. Merrill didn't get a 4-year scholarship. Thing is, I think that Bridget got a better education here than over at St. Thomas. And that's important. I don't know how we can sell people on that, but competing against a school like St. Thomas, because it's a wonderful place. It does better than everybody. No, I don't think so. Because I have 2 kids who came back to both 4-year schools. One of them went to a higher school and came out really well. So, what do we should test for that? In other words, how many kids graduate and how many kids graduate again? This is one thing I think we don't do a good enough job of. Coming out and saying we had X number of kids who went forward into college from our school. We're ahead of that. We're better than all the schools around us were doing that. In other words, we can get the education out front, and then people can see that, gee, Mary went to Notre Dame, you know, I mean,
Not the one in New Hampshire, the one in Indiana.
No, the one in New Hampshire's gone.
I know.
It's not with us any longer. My wife graduated from there.
But I think that's the other piece is that, so we just were at a staff meeting, last year, 51% of our graduates went to college, a 2 or 4 year program. So, but not every kid needs, like, not every kid, their pathway is college.
Right.
And that's okay.
No, that's not what I'm saying. The point is that compared to other, the testing system, it's for us against them.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that our us is a lot better than what we can portray it for. The tests don't show, you know, all the kids who get into 4-year schools, get into some prestigious 4-year schools.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the point. I think we need to be able to somehow manufacture a testing system that promotes that kind of information coming forward. I don't know how to do it, but it is, I think it would have a lot more impact on families in our district. If we could say to them, look, these are kids who are doing really well. They're getting out, they're going to do, they're succeeding, they're getting, you know, we had that kid how many years ago, the one that went with Turbo King. It was a young man, remember Katie? He was, I think he was being seen when he was first here. And he's running a turbo cam down well, first when it was up in Gothenburg, and then it moved down in Barrington.
Mm.
But I know we're paying for we transported it back and forth to Barrington. Why? Because, you know, turbo cam, student an opportunity to do something. He never went to college. Went to work for turbo cam. And now started his own company. I don't know whether that is. But I mean, that to me is the kind of success. I'd rather have that kind of visual success and graduate, show people that graduates are doing well is the most important thing.
And who are good humans.
Yeah.
You know, you could be a really smart kid, but be a terrible human.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want that.
No.
I guess I have one additional question.
Go ahead.
So is there something that we as a board can or should be investing in to make it easier for, you know, additional resources for professional staff in helping them track students as they hit their benchmarks? Are we making adequate investments in that, or is there something we can make more of an investment in to make it easier for that staff? Because it's almost like we're asking them to do something but blindfolded, right? They might not be able to see how well a student or, you know, what deficiencies they may have as they're learning. Is there something that we as a board should be considering that would empower admin or, and ultimately, those professional staff teachers to know more regularly in a more granular manner that where students are at in their learning pathway as they're trying to meet the competencies, and to ultimately then eventually what everyone's going to look at is to demonstrate those competencies through the standardized tests.
That is just the work that they are that is their professional work that they are working on in their staff meetings and their department meetings and their CAA meetings of developing those proficiency scales and rubrics. They have to have those collegial meetings and have discussions of, okay, here's our science essential standards or our English essential standards. What does it mean to be proficient in these standards? What does it mean to be unproficient? What does it mean to be not yet proficient, so that we can have those conversations with students, with parents, with ourselves. That is the best feedback that we can give a kid. Student.
Okay, so you're telling me this current budget that we have right now, curriculum instruction, assessment, or other lines that might not be on the sheet, but that can be checked, that we're sufficiently funding those, that people have the resources moving forward to kind of reach those expectations? Because I'm saying I would be willing to make an additional investment in those lines.
I think we can get back to you on that.
Because I would be happy to. I think if that's what we're hearing from the public, that and we saw that our test scores are starting to plateau despite them increasing. I saw we made a significant investment in curriculum my first year on the board, and I was skeptical, and then I saw the test scores increase for 2 years, and it seems as if those investments, that they were bearing fruits. Then we went to default budget, and this year we're not making as significant as an investment. But clearly it sounds like we have staff that would like more resources and support on tracking the students' benchmarks and helping them reach their competencies. And clearly it sounds as if admin want additional support, so.
Well, I think that we need to reach more students. So the students who need us to adapt our instruction, so that they can demonstrate proficiency in their learning. We need more time for training, so that might be paying for professional development during the summer. And we need different kinds of training for these staff, so that they know how to differentiate in their classrooms to meet more students' needs. Because when, what I kept thinking about during Danny's presentation is, how do we reach the kids at the lower levels? That's where we need to make some movement, where we need to move the needle. So it's about moving some of the kids, reaching some of the kids who, like Katie is saying, Dr. Hill is saying, we may not be reaching them with some of the more traditional methods of instruction. Regular test taking, regular quizzing, traditional sit in your seat and listen to the lecture. That works for a certain percentage of students, but the students who are not at the tippy top, they might be experiencing some challenges in their home life. They might experience some disability. Are we doing enough to reach all the students who learn differently? Because that's where I think we can make the most impact in our scores. And the way to do that is to differentiate what we have in the classroom. So kids, like Dr. Hills is saying, so the students have different ways they can demonstrate their learning. Some kids, it's not about taking a test. They sit there, they forget the whole thing, but they're an incredible student. But that's not how they can demonstrate. But that can be really challenging in a classroom. If you have 20 kids and they all learn differently, and you want to assess them all and let them all demonstrate in different ways, that's really hard for one teacher in one classroom. So there is professional development that we can find and offer teachers for that. And I think what you're getting at is, okay, then how they demonstrate their understanding, and then how does that translate when they do take tests, when they do have to take the state test. So we can have evidence that what we're doing does make some change later. So we do have ways to go with that, and we do need more time. There's only so much time during the school year. We do the best kind of condensed professional development if we have time over the summer. We did that with our ESSER 3 funds, and we got a ton of training done at that time. So that's a financial investment for sure.
So it sounds like, based on what we're hearing from residents who expect higher test scores, which again, those are standardized testing, not the entire pool of students on one singular day, and only about 2/3 to 3/4 through the year, so they still haven't finished their final third to a quarter of instruction for the year. So again, it's a very imperfect system, but it sounds like the expectation is that we're investing in that type of development for staff and the type of resources that they need to better measure students' benchmark throughout the year leading up to the standardized tests, in order to, to help the teachers improve their ability to meet students' needs. So that's where I think, we want to make investments. So I waited 3 nights until to get to that, because we went through all the water, sewer, electricity, snow plowing, and we're now on curriculum, and I view this is really where we, other than directly investing in teachers via their salary, which is a direct, helps recruit and retain good staff that will support students, this is the second most important thing that we invest in. That's a direct investment in students and staff, is this type of support.
Mhm.
So,
This is our business. It's school. It's school. This is
Yeah.
what we do.
This is the tool that lets the staff do what they need to do.
yeah.
That's what it becomes. This is the tool.
Mhm.
And funding the tool, or tools, put an S on it, makes a big difference.
It really does. And, and we can feel confident in this proposal because we do everything by task force. So it's our educators who are looking at the different options together with the SAU to determine what we should have. Who better than to have the science teachers from across the district get together and look at the different programs. So if they feel that they can be successful with students, that's the best predictor of increasing scores, is teacher efficacy. So when teachers feel confident, they know what they're going to teach, they feel that they can be successful in teaching it, then that is the strongest correlation to actually raising the scores, is when teachers feel confident in what they're doing. And they're part of choosing.
Yeah. Set? Katie, thank you.
Thank you very much. Now on to Dr. Mask in special education.
The part we have the least control over.
That's your title. It's not as hard as I thought it would be.
Person who has no control over whatever happens to her.
We try to have control. So I'll do a little bit tonight to tell that story. Right. So thank you for having me this evening as part of this presentation. Thank you to the members of the Finance Committee and extended board members for their continued support for programming and services provided to all of our students across the district. With your oversight, our educators work diligently to provide high-quality educational experiences to all of our students. This year, it's been a very busy start to the school year, meeting the needs of all of our students. As you know, our teachers and support staff are essential to the work that we do in promoting our students' successes. That was evident today at our Thanksgiving feasts across the district. Each time I meet with our teams, I'm reminded about the privilege it is to be a part of this great district that puts all students at the center of our decision making. With that said, tonight, I'm happy to present the district-wide special education proposed budget for the Finance Committee. In addition to the special education report that you have in front of you, and we'll take a moment to go through the lines, but I wanted to share some quick facts about special education in our district to add additional context to our school. So some quick facts for you to know about special education in our district. The Governor Wentworth Regional School District currently provides special education to 347 eligible school-aged students. This is approximately 16% of our total student enrollment. This percentage is less than the New Hampshire state average of 20% of the total public school enrollment. In addition to the 347 school-aged students, we currently have approximately 60 preschool students ages 3 and 4 that receive special education services due to a disability. We have 3 preschool classrooms within the district, 1 at New Durham Elementary School and 2 at Ossipee Central School. And we contract for a 4th location with the Wolfeboro Area Children's Center for preschool programming to meet our district's increasing needs. In general, it should be noted that although our percentage of eligible students for special education is below the New Hampshire state average, within our schools we have recognized some patterns and trends that impact our students' needs, which as a result impacts our overall school budget. Some of those contributing factors include the nature and severity of our educational needs that we see in each of our schools are becoming more complex, which requires specialized care, programming, and attention. There's an increase in eligible young children across the district, ages 3, 4, and 5, that have significant communication and behavioral needs. And although we are stewards of inclusive practices and build expertise in programming within our schools, such as what we were just talking about, There are outlier cases in which there's an increase in parental initiated requests for out-of-district placements or highly specialized supports. This is often driven by the perception that more intensive programming is needed beyond the bounds of our schools. While we're committed to providing evidence-based instruction and high-leverage practices, balancing these demands that may reflect a broader state and national trends has a measurable fiscal impact on our local budget. So with the budget, this budget process, which is one that I worked with principals and the superintendent and business administrator, looking at the various needs of our students and staff members, while maintaining a fiscally responsible budget to present to you this evening, while maintaining the balance of providing legally required special education and related services we are obligated to provide those who are eligible. As I've mentioned to you before in previous meetings that we've had together, the most significant challenges that we face in school district budgeting, particularly with special education, is the unpredictability of certain needs that can arise at any time. We do our best to forecast those expected and unexpected needs 18 months in advance based upon today's snapshot in time. As we review our financial projections for the next school year, I would make the recommendation that the Finance Committee and full school board revisit the district's special education trust. As you know from recent events, the trust has been a critical tool for ensuring fiscal stability in an area where costs can fluctuate unpredictably, particularly in response to legally obligated educational placements, emerging students' needs, and mandated services that can arise at any time. In regards to the special education budget request for 2027-28 that you have in front of you, the overall increase in which the special education is requesting is 16.16% increase. As you review the variances and percentage requests, I would like to draw your attention to the two main drivers of this increase to help provide some context. So the first is professional or contracted services. The professional contract service lines of the function codes 323.
You're less than increased than that.
That's great.
Isn't that great?
That's great.
Yeah, you're like 12 points.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. The professional contract service lines of the function codes 323 include services provided by over a dozen vendors, psychologists, occupational and speech therapy, board-certified behavioral analysts, and assistive technology experts.
Is that the, sorry to interrupt, is that the line code for us would be 3231.032?
3231.1.032. That's for elementary, so you'll see that there's 3 layers of that, Brody.
Okay.
It's consult services elementary, then you see 323.2032, that's middle school, and then the same function code 323.3. So anything you see .3 is high school, .2 is middle school, .1 is elementary.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. The second driver would be tuition costs. So these are the special education tuition function codes. So those are the 560 to 563. And those are all related to tuition expenditures, either private or public at all 3 levels. So again, the elementary, middle, and high school. We work diligently to make sure that students are educated within the least restrictive environment within their local school. However, based on the nature and severity of a student's disability and their unique circumstances, this is not always a possibility. I do have some special ed personnel requests. So I'll go over those and then I'll take some questions after that. So the following personnel requests are a replica of what I requested last year, in which this committee supported and brought forward to the full school board's support. So the first one is a 100% full-time preschool diagnostic prescriptive teacher. So we as a district have a duty to locate, find, and evaluate if appropriate children are suspected of having an educational disability that are living within the geographic bounds of our district. And that process can start up when children are as young as 2.5 years old. Preschool referrals can come from many different sources, including parents, pediatricians, the court system, and each county's early supports and systems. And we are within, our district is divided between 2 different counties. Like I had mentioned before, we have across the district, there are 3 locations that provide preschool services: Ossipee Central School, New Durham School, and we contract for services at Wolfeboro Area Children's Center and Magic Moments. If a district office offers preschool programming for children with disabilities, they must invite and maintain a 50-50 ratio of typically developing peers. So although the number I had said about 60 students that we're serving with educational disabilities, that number would, we try to attract typical developing peers to maintain that ratio in our programs. That can be challenging. Currently, we have 1 preschool coordinator, diagnostic prescriptive teacher for the entire school district, where again, we're serving approximately 60 young children who are identified with educational disabilities. Last year, when I talked to this committee, we were at 47, so we are seeing a trajectory of growth. With that, numbers don't always tell a story. Although our numbers of special education preschool referrals continue to increase, many of these young children are coming to us with significant developmental delays and disability concerns, which require a high level of support and services. Special education referrals, when those referrals come in, require at least 3 meetings with families. It's an initial referral meeting, and you do evaluations, eligibility determination, and then you talk about IEP and placement. So all of those are separate events for one child. And then this doesn't include annual meetings or any subsequent meetings that parents may request. Preschool coordinator is also responsible for the coordination and evaluation of preschool students. Within our current model, this is not always possible. So the expectation is often put on preschool teachers and related service providers from across the district. An additional DPT for preschool is needed to meet our obligations for our growing preschool population. And I know that Andrea Fournier, principal at Ossipee Central School, heard from her last night in regard to that need. The second staffing that I presented to you last year, that was moved forward to school board approval, was the position of the DPT position for Effingham and Auto-Generated School. So with your support last year and the passage of the Governor Wentworth administrative team negotiated agreement, this allowed the DPT position to be separated from the principal position at each of those schools, Auto-Generated and Effingham. This model allows the principals to continue to be instructional leaders within their buildings and puts the special education, local education agency responsibilities on someone else as the DPT. So right now, that position is 70%. We are requesting that to be increased to 100% this position. And the third personnel request was to increase the special education administrative assistant position at the middle school. You must have heard at one of the first nights, Principal Hunt talked to you. We want to increase that position from 29 hours a week to 32.5 hours a week with an additional 10 days in the summer. We currently, at the middle school, we currently have 69 identified students at the middle school with 1 diagnostic prescriptive teacher managing the caseload that includes both Governor Wentworth and Middleton students. These numbers warrant more clerical support as compared to other positions in the district. This full-time clerical work addition will help offset this demanding high caseload for our DPT at the middle school. And the fourth thing that it's not a specific personnel request in regards to this presentation, but I would express my support of the redesign of Lakeside Academy that was talked about earlier this week. That redesign may help support and offset some high school contracted special education costs. Before I take my director of special education hat off and talk about counseling, do you have questions for me?
Is there a separate counseling budget?
The counseling is just a staffing, and it's really just in regards to, and I think perhaps you had mentioned it earlier this week, but it connects with our strategic plan. So it's a student wellness coordinator, and connecting that with our second focus area of our strategic plan, student wellness. And that's our district goal. This was something that was proposed last year and was moved forward to the school board approval for the student wellness coordinator.
I have some, first I just had a clarification question for Kathy. So I see are we looking at like two different budgets, one that might have been an older iteration? Because if you notice the first page, at the bottom of the second page, it says, so our first page is page 2.
Yeah, can you rip it off and turn it over? That's what it is, when I made the copies, I had it turned the wrong way. That's all.
We have 2 page ones and 2 singles.
Oh.
No.
But
See at the bottom right-hand corner, that's the page number. So if you just rip that top page off and flip it over,
So what's
you have
this?
page 1, you have page 2.
But we have 2 page 3s that have two different totals. And that's the thing, so when Kelly mentioned 16.16%, I was like, she's not wrong, but she also might not be right, because you guys mentioned the 12.58%. And I was like, I'm wondering if we looked at Kelly's original budget, and then there's a more accurate budget that's being presented to the finance
What's
committee.
really odd is.
I would prefer the 12.58%, but if that's not the right one, then, that's life.
14. I just want to make sure,
there's different.
I see.
Yeah.
You know what? I paper clipped both of them together, so you can rip off 11.9.
Okay.
Get rid of that. It was the
At
print
the
date on the
bottom.
bottom.
11.9.
Oh, so we can.
So what you have is anything printed on 11.14.
So these two 11.9 pages
I
are,
have
Trash.
an 11.19 page and 11.4.
But there's only.
but then there's no page 1.
I have, well,
Well, I have
that's
two
what I
page
thought
ones
I
There's
just
no page
printed.
1.
I have page 1.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to do.
And
Oh, you know
I show
what?
you
We
what
all
I
just have our,
And you're
it's
correct
all of our
about the
packets and
16.
stuff.
Are they all mixed up?
Yeah, you must have the page 1s, I have like 2
I
page
have,
3s.
yeah, I have, well, I just
Okay.
got rid of
Page
page
And
2.
all of these.
Yeah, you must not have had any page 3s
No,
then. Which
this,
makes
page
it,
1 says the end of the report, they're the same thing.
No,
Look
Kathy,
now.
she has the page.
Can you just
Oh, wait, did I just rip my other ones up? Oh, maybe I got rid of the other
yeah, because I was
ones.
reviewing this and I found some of the lines that Kelly mentioned and I
I
was like,
have the correct
These
information
are
right
the
here.
curriculum
Can you all
ones, yes.
just ditch your special education, please?
right here,
Oh,
I'm
I think
gonna
I'm
to me
Hey,
and
I
we'll
have-
give them to Kathy for incineration. I'm keeping this one because
Good, not
In
one.
special education, we go with the flow, right?
We go with the flow.
We go with the flow. Here we are. We are
For shredding.
and I'll give you this after I can, because I want to note how many special education students we have total and the percentages. I'm just saving them.
Did you want me to repeat that?
No, it's 347 and 16% of the 20% state average.
Yep. And that's school age, that's not inclusive of our preschool population. With our preschool population, we're at,
Can you introduce the one behind you?
This is Donna Lehman. Hi. She is all things wonderful, and she is our face of preschool. So Donna is our one and only preschool coordinator who goes across the district and does all this incredible work that I talk about with her team, but it's Donna that's running these meetings. You're very kind. It's my pleasure.
Do you mind if we ask Donna anything? Do you have any comments for us?
Everything kids and parents need is getting done.
Thank you.
That's all I can say. I do my best on the paperwork and the compliance piece. Anything that parents and kids need to move forward is getting done, 100%. I have an amazing staff, great group. Some of the contracted services Kelly's asked for are people who have done just such a wonderful job. I feel like I witnessed like a mini miracle this week of a kiddo using a communication device who could even be around other people last year. So it's my pleasure, like I said. They're cute and they're complicated. But we have a lot of families who are very invested in staying in this district and taxpayers in this district who are appreciative.
We do.
Yeah. So it is my pleasure.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you for what you do.
Katie's doesn't work.
Let's see again.
Do you want my code?
Yeah, please.
Oh wait, I do have mine.
Make sure that doesn't count against their Clinton quota.
We take full responsibility.
Thank you, Sue, she knows that. We don't
I
have
went
one
to
at the
school.
SAU office.
Patty Morrissey was a library specialist. And her kids were both in school. Her son Liam was in 4th when I was in 5th grade, and her daughter Abby was in 6th grade. And then Carter's our youngest, and he must be 2, maybe 1 year younger than my wife.
I have a very distinct memory of being in a computer.
Oh, they used to make us do that like thing, like it had like the wizard and stuff, or the robots, like typing. It was so terrible.
I took a typing class in high school.
She tried, she doesn't have it. Here's the correction, we just have access to the paper.
I can share mine.
You have, just gonna try.
You have 2 and 3 is accurate.
And I have
This
2.
one's just printed on.
If I have 1,
11.
I have 2, and I have 3.
My questions are less about the lines and more overarching than
Okay.
so.
Yeah, like these are not really
Yeah,
anything
I
to
mean,
mess with anyway.
yeah.
I've looked through the accurate pages and.
Yeah.
Well, they're all accurate. They're just
Well,
not
I mean that, yes.
amalgamated. Or
Right.
Zephy's even a word, but
I'll give this away to whoever wants it.
I did review them, yeah. I'll switch to the one last.
Kelly can get it up and running, then I'll make photocopies for everyone. We're locked down pretty hard around here.
okay, so the 16.16%, that is the accurate.
Did you get in? Yeah. Holy moly, okay, let me take that back. Do you have any writing on yours? Mine did not.
I have writing.
No, mine did not. So let me just make sure. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I can have
Double
double-sided. You can. 4.
What were we losing?
I love Josh. He doesn't have any money. No, it's not. He's a very humble guy. Well, I mean, he doesn't get to choose the
Unless my
ad
kids are
because
unless
he's
your
made
kids
to be
are
on the
fast,
ad by
I
me.
don't.
I watch my kids back.
Yeah. And I still have to ask 1,000 questions.
I'm not gonna love you
I'm
out
like,
there.
why did they make that call?
Just in case.
Oh, I know. Well, I want to report this week.
My cat is
You dressed her. I mean, I guess I don't.
just for when Josh Allen. I'm not gonna. My wife has a job. I have a job. We're all gonna wear a Josh Allen jersey.
Someone had a few of these printed out.
Okay.
I think I did 5.
That'd be my turn.
And I-
Mine is.
They're on the
Mine's
bottom.
print.
Here, you want?
Oh, you can.
Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
crimped on the bottom. It's just. It's okay. It's crimped.
Is that part of the printer or is it separate?
The printer does it.
Yeah, but-
That's very
The copier
cool.
does it.
My copier at work does the automatic scan. And I was like impressed.
You can do that.
They got a new copier
But this is nice.
a month of me working, and I was like, oh wow, it's staples in it. This is great.
Yeah.
How did it sound like it didn't work?
Any questions for She was right about her percentage.
My only question is, we have to contract or pay tuition for a lot of these services because they're out of district services. I know our district has prided itself historically on trying to provide as much services for students or just generally, like an example is we're one of the few districts of this size that has a, like a transportation department. Is there a way to potentially provide more of these services in-house that could save money? Or, you know, I'm imagining folks have already explored that probably multiple times, but is there, you know, maybe is there a long term if we start making those investments and slowly decreasing our contracts and trying to hire more people in-house? I know it might make other budget lines go up, but over time it might make the entire bottom line of the budget not go up as much.
I think that you asked a great question, Brody. You'll see in the tuition lines, you'll see them broken up into 2 different categories, public and then private. So what I do is, the tuition public is not necessarily we're paying tuition to another public school. That's contracted services providers that we bring in to provide programming for our students. So we do, like, for example, tuition public for the elementary, that line. At Ossipee Central School, we have a specific program for children who are autistic. So that is a program that we have, and it's housed at Ossipee, and it services 7 with significant disabilities. So that is something that we have done to offset the cost of what it would cost for those 7 kiddos to be somewhere else. Because the other reality is that there is no somewhere else. The demand for those programs, although, you know, 10 years ago, there would have been a lot of programs. You know, nowadays, it's light. So really the pressure is put on school districts to build programs internally. So that's one example of the tuition public line. In middle school, same things. We work really well with different organizations that we can contract with that can come and be supportive with students inside the middle school, and we do the same thing with the high school program. So that's what the tuition public lines are. The private lines, when you see the tuition private, now you're getting into those kiddos that are placed out of district for various reasons that are going to a specialized day program.
So tuition public, that would be, so we're still paying non-district employees to come in and provide services, and could it potentially over a long period of time be more affordable to make them a district employee?
Perhaps. I think that, one of the things that there's a couple of things. We work really hard as a district to educate our students in the least restrictive environment, so that's special ed speak for, we want to make sure that our students are our students, and they're here at Kingswood for all of the reasons that we've been talking about this evening and throughout this whole week. This is their community, these are their friends, this is their school. So we do everything that we can to make sure those kiddos are in the classes in each elementary school, the middle school, and the high school. We have to exhaust all of those options. I think the advantage to having these outside resources come in is that they're able to do that. Sometimes their hours are flexible. What I do before we contract as a district with these agencies for that reason is we try to exhaust all the options. So with making sure that we advertise for those positions, and we really kind of go through the internal process to make them our own Governor Wentworth. That is something that I work diligently to make sure that there's a process, and because that's the intent. We want to attract and retain staff members to work here. In honesty, that's been challenging. So, I think that those are staffing challenges that we may have heard this whole week is a reality that we face.
Kelly, are the staff you're talking about on a per diem basis or per hour basis?
It depends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
each contract.
Sometimes having some of these people in here, right, speech, no fee, you might need them for an hour or two, and to have a full-time employee, you can't justify it because you don't have enough students to work with.
Yeah.
So it becomes a little tough to bring them in-house. You don't have somebody with a part-time employee.
It's definitely a really big puzzle piece, trying to put it all together, because you look at individual services, you project out what is coming, you take a look at evaluations, you take a look at, okay, so what are the evaluation needs that we may have in the present moment, but then also, in the future. Some of the contracts are per diem, some of the contracts are hourly wages, and those are really assigned.
The thing is, if you have somebody who's on an hourly basis, you tailor their hours to suit what you need, as opposed to what a full-time employee would be. And that is a little bit, that is the difference. If you don't need a speech therapist every day, but you need them, you have to contract for it. You can't hire a speech therapist. First, I find it, anyway.
Speech therapist, speech is tricky. Speech is definitely tricky, and that's a whole puzzle piece within itself, multiple puzzle pieces. But we do have remote speech pathologists for that flexibility for those reasons. For the older students at the middle school and high school, that developmentally that's an appropriate method of the service. So we think very creatively.
Kelly's become an expert at reading contracts and the nitty-gritty, because there is also, as much as we would like to have these people working for the district as a district employee, there's a lot of non-compete clauses. And that means you have to wait a whole year before you can hire them from that company. So they can't work for us through that company for a whole year. So a lot of non-compete.
Isn't that illegal now? They have a lot of
It was shorter. It was longer before, but I think it has gone shorter now.
That's ridiculous. So they just kind of monopolize the
Yeah,
specialty
they do.
employees.
Yes. Oh, this is
And
a
if you
whole-
find a specialty
yeah,
employee who
yeah. Yes.
who's, I love this district, I love working with these students, but I'm contracted, but I could, instead of working for this private employer, get probably a better benefits package, maybe even you equivalent pay, if not a little bit more, with the public school district. And I guess it might depend, but
It does.
usually public employers provide a much more robust benefits package if you include retirement and,
Sure.
so yeah, you give up $10,000 a salary, but you
Yes.
get a $40,000 health care plan and retirement is.
Right, we
I
gotta look
mean-
at the whole package and not just the dollars.
Yeah, exactly, so, well, okay, anyways, not to get on a tangent, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah. There's a lot of.
It is.
Anything else?
Maybe the legislature should address that. They address a lot of things,
Well,
but they
there's
haven't
some-
addressed that one.
There's some good special education funding, equitable funding, that would be great.
That's a big one.
Yeah, I know,
How about
they-
regulating contracted service rates
Mhm.
that go up 5% every year?
Regulating transportation costs.
Yeah.
$600 a day.
Maybe we can make a whole list and just send it to the delegation.
If you'd like, we have to.
We can do it, but.
I wouldn't be opposed, so I don't know, maybe we can talk about that in our next agenda review.
Sounds great.
I'd love to send a list of, these are all things that should be addressed, that aren't being addressed related to special education and funding and adequacy. I know the board's been talking more about doing more advocacy, and I've spoken with Christina of NHSBA about, like, what do we need to do to get people to start listening, because things are happening in the legislature, for public education, that just, I don't think even 5 years ago we would imagine would be happening, let alone 10. So it's almost like we can't sit on the sideline as much as we would prefer as being a nonpartisan board.
Well, further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don.
Yeah, thank you.
John?
Well, I've been in Kelly's shoes in other districts and other states, and it's hard.
Oh, yeah.
Is it safe to assume that you support the second preschool DBT position?
It is safe to say, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm first handing out the school board's budget.
Thank you.
Kathy will be presenting the school board and then also the SAU and business office.
You don't mind if we just do one at a time? These are pretty much standard items. There is a small increase, just due to CPA, which is our auditing company line, and the insurance as well.
Fire them.
I've had a discussion with them just recently. There are just not enough auditing companies, and with all the mandates, the GASB rules that keep coming down the pike, and the more pressure on them, that no one wants to, they're not adding to the pool of
This is
CPA.
only 350 short.
Everyone does it.
You gotta get it done. You gotta get it done, but.
Yeah,
I'm
everyone.
sure you understand, you know? I don't see, the school's trying enough about going in business.
What is the
Mhm.
dues, sorry, that's NHSBA, so not that is
Mhm.
usually. That went up? Nothing. No.
I don't have
It's
it.
level funded, and we love NHSBA, they're great. With their, Becky and Will and all the staff there. What was the one that was looking at?
Honest, the decrease or an increase?
Yeah, supplies.
Yeah.
What's supplies fund? Is that just all of our, that's not everything we print?
No, it's,
Okay.
no. I think some of it is,
Because I noticed the actual,
Decreased it,
the
yeah.
actual is only 1,300.
well, that's
Yeah.
because we.
Well, we did freeze
budget
last
for
year,
everything.
but that's why we reduced it, because.
I could imagine some supplies might be, I know we recognize board members at the end of the tenure, so
Yes,
buy a
absolutely.
little award.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I know we need to have our packets printed, they go online, but we still get in-person
Some of those,
packets.
yes.
There might be
When there's a
some
new board
specific-
member, they get a new little plaque.
Yeah,
So that's a
absolutely.
supply.
We had a few
A little
turnover of
food,
those,
right? A
yeah.
little food.
Yep.
Sometimes
For
we
deliberative
give you a little food during deliberative.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's a few
Yeah.
hundred.
I'm gonna pull it up.
And then my other one is gonna be legal services, I think we need to increase that one, but.
It's pretty high. It's pretty high.
Yeah, we busted that one last year, and people complained, but you know what, it's worth its weight in gold, frankly.
Remember you negotiated with WISA, that was a
That's
lot.
right.
And that was part of it, and.
I reviewed
It was the
all
majority of it.
That was the majority of it?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and I just pulled up the agreement.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
Yes, I pulled up the agreement, because we were talking about that before.
I mean, this year, we negotiate again, we didn't even know.
Well, I wouldn't imagine we didn't need to do it those last time.
Deliver session copies, it would, yes, a 1 year subscription for something, $36. Carrot, HS Top Scholar.
Oh, that's the gold scholar luncheon.
Oh, the gold scholar. Oh, yeah, there are those
Yeah.
types of
So
luncheon and
we,
end of year
yeah,
activities.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Your retirement, little gifts, things from the board.
Okay, I won't press it, just curious.
Yeah.
So we think, how are we looking with our 2026 legal budget?
We have only used what you have used for GWIA. And then the school care assessment. Right now, we spent $21,157 this year, legal rates and.
Yeah.
That's because of clear and, school care.
I think we're gonna have to just double this line at least.
For next year, for WISA?
Just generally, we spent 64,000 actual last year, actual 2025. 2026, it looks like we're on pace for that again. If anything, we might want to budget 60,000. Worst case scenario, there's extra and we return it back to the taxpayers. I don't know, what do you guys, I just think it's a thing.
I think long term, I mean, we're gonna be active in the market, and probably ought to have enough resources to be able to raise your budget.
So what are you guys, we could do 60 or we could cut the difference at 40. I think it just means that we would be needing to find $20,000 out of the budget, or out of another line in a separate budget.
Catherine, you gonna do pull from that line, or?
I'd recommend 40 at most, because it was a lot of time last year with
That's right,
with
it was
WISA.
WISA.
It was WISA.
And
WISA
this
was
year,
different.
we'll negotiate with WISA, but I don't imagine we'll have him at every meeting this time.
No.
I think it'll be more like consultation, like we have. And then your other piece, I think that's going to take some time. It might be more analytical.
I think 40,000, and if we need to make cuts at preliminary or final, then that's the first place we can cut. That's the first place we'll find $20,000. But I think if we know that we're definitely spending more than $20,000 a year in legal, based on just general board activities and requests for consultation from our legal services.
What is that?
I just increased it to 40 in the software.
Okay. How does that reflect as a percentage now? Because people, instead of it being 1.21%.
Well, and they won't see this. This will the legal will be combined with all legal.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't stand out alone.
That's going to be next after this.
Okay.
Giving
Do you want us to have a vote? I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll move that we increase the school board's legal services line from 20,000 to 40,000.
Second.
Second. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody opposed? Well, I agree.
Okay.
change the percentage?
I don't know how, it doesn't say it on my sheet unless I were to go and jump through a whole bunch more hoops. So, great, but, which I will do at the end of the meeting because I have to find it. Next up is the SAU office and business office, so. that's superintendent and the business office downstairs, but I checked out. So obviously this is a larger budget. The main drivers in this budget have to do with snow removal, which is in which is in the superintendent, and the business, which is, 2320 function and 2510. So both of us split that, as well as internet costs, which was under budgeted, and then software. The software is the Tyler technology, which is the accounting financial software that we currently use. That increases anywhere between 5 and 7% every year. But it also included a new module that I am working on the implementation of right now. It's the substitute and absence management. So I do have an actual quote that shows that increase with the whole year's worth of a renewal.
It's very exciting to really bringing the SAU a little more digital so that all teachers will go in and request their days. So sick, personal, schools for substitutes. So it's no longer a manual process to figure out, if they have a personal day off or a sick day, what's in their account. It'll reduce the number of errors.
Yeah. It's a lot of labor. The system right now doesn't have a check and balance. It's all labor and paper followed, done. This will be all electronic. It's not only going to be used for the substitute portion of it, it's anyone's absences who has paid time off. So they'll go in and they'll enter their absence. If they don't have the time, they don't put it in. Or now, there's nothing. There's nothing to say whether they have it or not. It'll go through their supervisor for approval, whether it's a substitute or not a substitute, it goes through approval, and then at the end of the 2-week pay period, it's also going to download into our payroll software, which will automatically mark people out and decrease their paid time off automatically, which right now is being hand entered every 2 weeks. And it is an exorbitant amount of time and cross-referencing to make sure everything is accurate. The staff that I have are incredibly detail-oriented, and if things don't check, they're questioning. So if the paperwork that's come over or the time card that's come over is not matching what they have in the system, they're constantly questioning. So this will be no longer questioned, but it's going to make everyone have to go into the system, which has a learning curve. I plan on doing in-school training so that everyone sits at a computer and logs in for the very first time to the software, and then we'll be able to enter an absence and they'll see how it works. I'd much rather get out and train people and get them sat down and logged in than try and send out really good instructions that the software company has. I just don't want to do that. There are so many questions. It's amazing. At the
Pilot one group first.
One group, going to do the custodians first, just so that does not impede substitutes for instructional purposes. I wanted to take a group that was fairly large enough that might have some diverse things, but it's not going to do the substitutes in the way where it would impact instruction. I don't want to have an oopsie baby or a goof right from the get-go on that. I don't want anyone to have that anxiety, so I'd rather just use it with that staff first, and then after that, this is after Christmas, after we return from Christmas vacation. And then once everything is worked out, and Tyler will sit through us through the whole entire process, we'll be live on the phone, virtually, whatever, to make sure that each step, when they go live, works the way it's supposed to, and if anyone has any questions, but it's a long process. I'm very excited about it. It's something that I started before COVID happened with a different software company, and they failed miserably. So when I reached out to this, the software company that we have currently, the fact that it dovetails hand in hand is great. But I also said I want to make sure that the implementation specialists are your top-notch people. I've been through horrible implementations, and I am not willing to do that again. We're paying good money. We need top-notch, so separate for this. But it comes with a cost.
So that's the 14, right?
Yeah, that's the two lines in here that are up $7,094 each. Didn't mean to take up all that time about it, but
That's
it's
fine.
exciting and it's huge.
I'm just gonna do more pedantic
Okay.
issue.
Mhm.
Two water sewer service.
One for the superintendent, one for the business
Yeah,
office.
so
We
you'll
split
see,
everything.
this whole thing is kind of a double, because the SAU and business.
We have to
Oh,
keep
In other
superintendent.
words, what I want is, the town's not catering it from both.
No. It's us and the way we budget and how we split the invoice.
You split it, all right.
Yeah.
The only comment is I know the SAU office has been kind of stressed with the amount of administration that has increased over the last few years, and I know that potentially this new computer system will help us not have to hire an additional staff member.
Well,
That's my
let's
guess
put it
because there
this
was a
way.
proposal for an
Right,
additional
well,
staff member, so hopefully.
We proposed a finance manager at the beginning, but we would reduce the admin assistant.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But we would reduce the admin assistant.
Yeah.
But I can
So
tell
it's a
you-
little increase.
So it is a little
Yeah.
increase, but it's probably not as much. I know, these have been issues
Yes.
that need to be addressed.
Yeah,
The
because
amount of time.
payroll is overburdened. And this is a payroll thing with the entering of 300 absences and reconciling. I mean, like I said, there are meticulous records and everything proves out every 2 weeks, including absences. And entering them. And let me tell you, as you know from substitutes, there are like 20 of absences.
So is the admin assistant a full-time position? Okay. It's only a finance manager. Could be so much paid and all that, but the
Same.
benefits, but the benefits package is.
Same, yeah.
Okay.
So that is,
Any questions? Other questions? Okay. One more thing.
Yeah. This one,
all right, so.
It's always
keep-
a scary
Keep in
one.
mind, you all added $20,000 to the bottom line, and I can,
So that's
I can
not
put
in
that
here
in.
right now, yeah.
Right. I've got two versions. I've got the version that has no new staff, and the version that has all the new staff that was on our staff listing, plus the benefits. It also contains, the balance of the school care assessment, which I created a separate line so you could see it. It's not buried anywhere. That was $570,529. And then I also put in, one of the lines, and I can identify for you where it is. It shot up 14,000%. The balance of the Bowen construction to finish the Carpenter School next year, because that came in as 2 phases. We didn't have enough money to do the complete project. We had $369,000 from our capital reserve, the amount from Primex, and the balance left over is going to be phase 2, which will be in July. That is about $371,000. Sure. But both of those have this, and this is.
so that's just a million stuff.
Or 800-ish.
Yeah, yeah. I know it's not controllable, but now with special ed now we're at 1.1 million.
This does not contain any of the warrant articles down below, so those are absent.
That's for your discussion.
So green is.
With staff,
With
and it
staff.
says it up at
You
the
can
top.
see it at the top
School board
column,
meeting.
Okay.
and the white.
Okay.
It's okay, right?
Well, it was even better before
It
the
was
school care on
before,
the balance.
yeah.
It was
I had a tough
Sorry,
month of
thank you.
October and hiring me, so this is not as,
Severe as you thought.
Bad.
yeah.
Well, and I just want to reiterate, so the
Okay,
principal's
good.
budgets, that is mostly what's here, right in the middle.
Yeah.
And when I say they work really hard on their budgets, they work very, very hard on their budgets. So I definitely want to give them some credit for why we do have this budget to present to you tonight. Of course, the top section is wages. That is the vast majority.
That's all help. Like for the driver.
Sure, yeah.
Um,
But that is, out of a proposed, if we're looking at the green sheet, a proposed $70,754,999 budget, 54 million of it is wages. So everything that we've been reviewing over the past, all these nights, outside of personnel, is 16 million. Put it into percent. So this represents everything all together. So when you see legal on here, that's all the legal that you saw from all the schools and the district, all put into one line. So this is the entirety.
The other thing too to keep in mind, because we had to live it and breathe it for a whole year with Middleton, is the 26 budget is a default budget. So it's lower than what we would have been looking at here in comparison to next year's proposed budget.
It is a sheer miracle
Yeah.
that we have just a 4.14% that we're proposing, when, like Kathy said, this is over a default. This is not over what we
well,
want.
and the school care assessment, I mean, take the 570,000 out, I mean, we could be looking at closer to 3%.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
We were.
We saw that number, it was really pretty, but we can't. It was really nice.
That's why I like to take my time, and I had the aha of, oh crap, I forgot to put these two
School
numbers
care
here.
and personal care, there's just such outliers that are so unusual.
I didn't have a document, I'm just pleased that I remembered it before we came tonight.
Last year, was anyone else in the finance committee last year? Nope.
All right, last year what we did is we went line by line and asked questions and decided if we thought we could make any additional decreases. But first, before we did that on the non-employee budget, and then we decided, and it doesn't matter either way, but usually we'll make decisions on the new staff, and then we'll look, kind of you start with the 320 line and work your way down. You can't change these employee position, new ones and RIPs impact the 100 and all the 200 series lines, but the 300 series lines, 300 series through 800 series is where we can actually make changes, albeit some of those changes would impact the school budgets that we reviewed too.
Snow is just.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. So, and that's like one of those lines where like we go down, so we went line by line and discussed it, and the snow obviously is like, that's just a contracted cost, like we can't change that line.
Right.
Well, last year it went down, wasn't that a
It
big
did.
thing?
Well,
Yeah.
I did, I
So-
had put it down because of the way they submitted their bids, but it was a new guy. The thing is the company we used before at Integrity couldn't bid it out, that they did the Wolfeboro schools. They couldn't bid it out. They stated to Sarah that they couldn't do it. They just didn't have the staff. Unfortunately, there was some stuff going on personally with the owner. But he said, I'll help out in a pinch if you need it. He must have billed very differently on the salt and the sanding and the labor for that, whereas in the new guy, his base bid was low, but when he ended up charging for the sanding and the salting, Sarah Cousteau was on him like you wouldn't believe. Even when we had the budget freeze, he wanted to continue to do everything that was not necessary. He was overkill. If there is such a thing with trying to plow and maintain, it was overkill. So she and he were on the phone constantly, which I give her a lot of credit for the patience, but I think she saved us a decent amount of money because I think he just wanted to have it you know, excessively too much, and it was just like, no, we have to draw a line where, yes, we want everyone to be safe, and it has to be in time for opening of school, but the weather's supposed to warm up to 50 degrees, and it's the weekend, you don't need to get on it right away, so it was some of that, so that was, now that we understand, or I understand how he is, and I think he's been through it a whole year now, you know, whole season, I'm hopeful that he will not be as aggressive with his extra involvement.
I have a question about the, if I may, Dr. King. My question is about the health services. So obviously that health services,
Yep.
how much of that decrease is accounted for in our wages line? Because obviously a portion of that is getting moved to wages, and a portion of it is gonna be put, I assume, into the,
Remember that?
the GWIA
Yeah.
contract
So
proposal.
I had sent you an email stating that how much, when I costed out the 8 nurses that the district needed, compared it to, and I used like, a median cost, I think I used 74,000, and I used a mixture of, family and 2-person health and dental plans to come up with, if we had them as an employee right now, what does that cost look like? So I did that figuring, and at that figuring, the warrant article would have to be $320,000 above and beyond. So,
But this base is up here.
but, right, so all $703,049, nothing more, nothing less, is above in this,
So it's
personnel.
shifted up.
Right, so what I did was I have a spreadsheet to show what the wages, what the FICA, what the New Hampshire retirement, all of those combined are spread apart, you know, the wages, like I said, the health, the dental, the FICA, the New Hampshire retirement, you know, a teeny bit of the disability, a teeny bit of unemployment and workers' comp. That's where all of that 749 is located right now. So the shift has happened.
So the shift, because I see that our wages has decreased.
Yep, it's actual staff. I have spreadsheets upon spreadsheets of our actual staff, our GWAT, our GWISA, our GWIA, which is our teachers, status quo. So it's their current contract now. That's how you have to do it in budget. Then we have our letter contract, we have our stipends, we have the stipends that are in all the CBAs. I upped the substitutes. Normally we budget $225,000 for substitutes. I upped those by $100,000 because we are spending well above $325,000 a year on substitutes. I upped it for the cost of the retirement, still based on the number that's in the CBAs, but the dollar amount is rising because the figures are rising. So I've accounted for that. I've accounted for the 2 vacancies for teachers. I've accounted for the vacancies of the support staff as well. All of that is listed in the wage line.
But the decrease is due to different hires.
Yes, I
So
kept track of all of the hires last year, and at that time where we pretty much ended it, we were almost $900,000 just in wages alone in savings of the staff that we hired.
Veterans leaving, younger teachers coming into it.
Yeah, and I also noticed we don't get to the settlement.
No, that's why I said no warrant articles. And Brody, if I can send you an email, could I just get all of your TAs, because I don't have all of them, and I can cost them.
GWIA is supposed to finish.
Reviewing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
They're sending that to us.
yeah, they're supposed to send that to us, and I can contact GWIA
Okay.
and say we would like that information.
We assume.
I kind of assumed that they would have already sent it to the administration, so I will.
Would you like us to contact them, or would you like?
Doesn't matter either. I can do it this evening. I'll send them an email.
Thank you.
That would be great.
Because I do want, I
Well, we
can't
need
piece
it in time
together.
for your decision.
Yeah.
And half the things I've already costed, but I just don't have an accurate list of what TAs are.
And I assume the free meals funding, is that included in our budget somewhere?
So this is, we included those as potential warrant articles here.
Okay.
You know, you did the building maintenance last year, that was
That's still in budget 26, so you have that
turf
there.
field, but, in building and maintenance, we have free meals. We know the building and maintenance committee already voted to move to the full board, the building and maintenance.
One of them
warrant,
at 200,000, one of them 50,000.
one at 200 and one at 50. So we already know that was voted by a committee to move to the full board.
And I have a question. Did we actually vote on the 50,000 from the residual stuff? The turf field?
No,
No,
we did not, lock it up.
You decided not to this year.
That's right. Oh, that's right. It was the 50,
So even though this is
20,000.
here, we won't, unless we make another decision right now,
Yeah.
we will not move this forward because that committee was pretty firm in that.
Regarding the,
Turf
No,
field.
adding nothing to the turf field this year, not having
Take a
turf fields
pause.
on the,
We took the 50, it was 150 on the building maintenance. We put that 50 that was of the football field into we brought it to
You knew we were
1,000.
gonna need that money, though.
the other thing is
yeah,
that.
but can't you just put the turf field warrant article last? So then if you,
Well, I think
because
what,
it's based on what's left over.
We can.
but the committee decided.
I'm not gonna second guess the committee, but I'm gonna bring that up to the full board because I don't
So the
have
committee
strong
decided
opinions
against
on
it
that.
because there's a balance in that account. So there's like
Yeah.
80,000 in there already, which seems like year one, and we're fresh off that. And, we strongly recommend you add special education, which is at 0 at this time.
Oh, I see.
So my
And-
recommendation is.
And strongly recommend
Yeah.
that it's not using them
There.
reserve fund
Is the
balance.
special education and the student wellness, and that's for your consideration.
Yeah.
So tonight, you already, you know, that's already moved forward by the HR committee, or it will be. Building and maintenance, those two already moved forward by another committee. I'm recommending to you tonight something to the special education trust. And the student wellness coordinator as its own warrant article. It's for your consideration, the free meals, if you want to continue that next year. We're just getting started with that, so we don't really have data for you on how much, you know, that's being taken advantage of. And anything else you want to consider.
So we wanna do the positions first and then look at the budget. How do you want us to start? Madam Chair?
No, start with the position. Any of that,
My first initial thought is I would prefer that we keep the homeless liaison as grant funded for the time being. I think it's been grant funded. I'm not saying that people didn't bring up legitimate points, but I think I'd like us to see our final budget stay below 4%. I think it'd be nice for us to be in that 3 range again, and I think that will help us regain a lot of confidence with taxpayers in getting us our budget passed and helping GWIA get the contract that we negotiated with them approved. So I think that might be an easy place to not cut services, but make sure that we're not shifting that cost onto the local property taxpayers and our budget.
My question is, what's the risk, though, that that's full money?
I think we can weigh in. I think we would have the money. It just is, it's tight. It's very tight. And Title II is, there was a month where the federal administration froze all those grants this summer. And we didn't even know if we would have it at all. Then they released it, and so we did have it. It's less than previous years currently. I think we just heard that it will continue to decrease slightly. It's okay for now. So it's a risk.
We will be over this year, so we will be over with transportation. The other thing that really pulls at that is transportation costs. That's the other big one. And so we will have to come to the district for transportation, homeless transportation costs, which are also legally required because we won't have that.
And we've used the grant for that.
We use the grant for that.
I'll make a motion to move the homeless liaison, manager, or to have it be grant funded. Have the homeless liaison manager, is that the correct position name?
It is.
Liaison.
Just
yeah.
homeless, I'll make a motion to make the homeless liaison to continue having it be grant funded.
No, I'll second, so we can discuss, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. I have nothing
I
else to
was thinking
say.
about it,
It
yeah.
just, I think the position will continue and the services will continue to be provided, but it will be paid for with federal grants instead of local property taxes. It's just, I'm trying to think of ways to get us towards a more ideal number that we feel comfortable and that we feel confident that we'll get approved at annual meeting in March.
That's kind of what I was thinking too, was to still be there, and then, like Dr. Kennedy said, is a risk. And so at some point, we would have to get creative if that happened.
We can bring you, regardless of which way this goes, we can bring you more information of the impact, perhaps next year.
I do agree that a good number would be good to present, and if that is a way to do it, but all maintain these things, I mean, that's, yeah, I see your point, really.
I agree too. Have a motion?
Very important position.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Well, some of it we've already agreed to in CBA.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna touch that. My only last thing is also my comment is, I agree with Principal Fournier's proposal, but I would like us to minus 3 paraprofessionals, so there's only 4 vacancies there rather than 7.
Oh, that's better than this one.
So I would make a motion that we minus 3 of the vacant paraprofessional positions rather than 2.
No, I think that's really good.
Is that
Second,
is that a motion?
You want to second my motion?
You can second.
No, I think that's, yeah.
Okay. No, I'll second.
Griffin second.
And I think we consider that a total of 90,000.
Well,
Could-
that would be, wages, so we can multiply that by 80. Do the thing.
Yes, this is just representing.
So it turns out to be, so it'll, altogether, not with the additional ones, but it's 90,000, negative 90,000 in wages, and 117,355 in benefits. So add those together, and that's what we're gonna do.
Could we round up on the wages to 100, or is that getting too cute?
That's getting too. No, I think you could. I'm looking at what was budgeted at. So yeah, so if we
That equals a contract,
I know.
So,
But-
so you're right, though. Meaning?
Is that, would you be okay if the motion was the 100,000 in salary?
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
and reducing by 3, we have to do that one.
Okay. Oh, and just making sure everyone understood so that's what I would, and I'll have no other motions on staff requests beyond that, so.
We might want a motion, so if you're saying you're not motioning any other edits, you would want a
Well,
motion to.
we probably want to vote on this one, and then motion on approving as edited.
Got it, yeah.
Would you agree?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we have a motion, second, all in favor?
Alright, and then I'll make a motion to approve the new staff requests as edited by the finance committee.
All in favor?
I'm sorry, which one, who won the second?
This
The
one.
Okay.
So how does that, Kathy,
Yeah.
how does that adjust our,
So if you just wanna put like an X through the wages.
Yeah.
Total wages down the bottom are now 46,990. And then with total 46,990,
Oh, right here, this.
so cross
Did they
that.
took out, oh,
Yeah.
I see, just the week.
Yep, and then the next line down, total with benefits, cross that out, and that now is $100,972. That would be your new number. So,
Where
that's
are we
it.
at here?
No. See
No,
that?
Oh, you're on this paper.
We're on
Oh,
this
I was like,
sheet,
wait a minute,
sorry.
I don't see it.
Because what I did was I
Much
took
better.
out the homeless liaison and all of those benefits, and then I added another, full-time paraeducator. I added in a whole nother seven.
So what was the total wages one more time?
46,990. And total with benefits is now 100,976.
and where does that get us adjusted for the green one?
For the green one, you'll have to, can you, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I mean, maybe we could talk about some of the other lines on the green one.
Got on it. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, like,
Maybe numbers.
professional services, that's mostly Caroline, that's mostly Kelly Mass.
It's mostly.
Yeah, so we're not touching the special ed.
Mhm.
Health services, we're fine with a $703,000 reduction. That's shifted into wages and also into the GWIA settlement.
Mhm.
So it's no longer in our budget. It's a separate cost item the voters need to approve.
Mhm.
Athletic services, that went down. Technical services, that's a very minimal number of an increase of 17,000.
Mhm.
CPA services, we're required to do our audit. The legislature's likely gonna make the requirements even more stringent, so anyone's following that. Legal services,
Gonna add 20 back.
we're adding 20,
Yeah.
that's right. Water and sewer, that's a fixed cost. Plant operation services, a fixed cost, garbage disposal, that's a bid, that's our contract. Snow removal, up 45,000. Ground scare, that's rubble fund essentially. Repairs and maintenance, that's gone up.
And so that is where we have a few things that the principals propose, like such as the counseling center at the middle school.
Building service agreements essentially level funded, but that's just our agreements with each other buildings. Copying, we can't really touch that.
Yeah, we're doing what we can to try and decrease that. We just we can't under budget that. We don't know that the full implementation of paper cut and holding everyone accountable.
We're working on that.
Yeah.
Now, contracted transportation,
Mhm.
what's up with this? This fiscal year 25 was 52,000. We budgeted 142,000, we're now proposing 160. Is that because, I mean,
It's special education costs and it's
And homeless.
and homeless. We
Okay.
are required to do it.
and those are new costs because we had to do that budget line transfer back in, I think it was mid-year through 25.
Yeah, when there's a new route, it's, you know, it doesn't exist and someone's going to a whole separate school. And we don't have a driver or a vehicle, we have to pay $500 to $600 a day for that.
Insurance is, that's the Primex increase,
Yes,
correct?
yes, yeah.
Did we, how'd that conversation go?
I did, I have the, let me find my folder with it.
I saw that on my work conference, Primex month. Yeah, I didn't bring up the 30% increase to
You're like, you owe
our
me a
property and
mug.
liability.
I'll take a mug.
I was
from
like,
you guys.
hey, can I have that mug? Yeah,
She
why
told
not?
me,
Sure.
so,
But
Sally
give me
Tanner,
that.
I got Sally Tanner on the phone, I've worked with her for many, many years, so she's a long time Primex person, but, she got me on the phone and said, normally, when they do the rate setting, they look back at 3 years historically, and they usually start back, like, we're in October right now, and that's when I got the rates, or we're in November now, but I got the rates in the end of October. And she said normally they would go all the way up until last December, so they'd end of the calendar year. They do 3 years prior. Now, what they're doing is 5 years, and they're ending it with our end of the year last year, which is June 30th. So guess what hit? Carpenter.
Yeah, Carpenter School.
But that's not at all. So she said past 5 years, that's the change. The claims, so we've had the property claim for Carpenter. We've had some small school bus claims where we've had some small accidents. We've had an employee settlement, which was a civil rights settlement, which was costly. We had the fire at the Lakes Region Technology Center with the welding, and then we also, which was the building itself, and then the person's vehicle that we had to pay out for. Lakes Region Technology, there was a student who cut their finger pretty severely in the culinary arts. And then we've had 3 separate sped situations that have gone to DQ process. So we've had our share of claims and that.
So it is paying us back.
Are there things that Primex offers, like as like an incentive, like different trainings
Yes,
that we
yes.
can take advantage
do.
of
Oh,
that help
we
us?
have a ton of
And
free
does that
stuff.
help us get our premiums
Nope,
decreased?
nope.
No.
And they
They
used to
don't.
have a TAP program that we could sign, that we could sign to say we're gonna lock in at not to exceed rates. They stopped doing that.
Yeah, I can imagine why, because
Did you have?
based on everything you
Did
just
you
said.
have malpractice insurance?
I haven't, I've been
That
concentrating
may
on
be a
these
surcharge
wages.
on that line.
Yeah, I would hope not, because
Yeah.
they're in the GWIA, they're covered by GWIA, and we're, I will find out, I'm just.
I mean, it's not something we had to deal with in the past. It was the first time to
Right.
cut it, that's a big plus.
Right, but I would have thought that Primex, in everything that I read from them, we were the abnormal, not the normal, where we had Huggins contract, whereas in everywhere else, we've been looking a lot at teacher contracts throughout the state, and the nurses are recognized in all of those teacher
Yeah.
contracts, so I guess what I'm saying is I haven't come across anything, but yes, I'm gonna reach out to Primex to find out if
That's
there's
right, the
additional.
thing is, the surcharge that Huggins was picking up.
Right.
They were paying their malpractice insurance to their employees. And they needed to because they were working at the hospital.
But my question, Dr. Jim, is the nurses, are they really practicing medical care?
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
They are technically
Yeah,
practicing
and they're
medical care?
administering prescriptions.
I mean, they still have to have their license in order to have the job, so
Okay.
I would imagine.
Got
But
it.
it's a good question, because I haven't heard that school districts have to cover the nurses in that way, but maybe it's happening soon.
Okay, next thing is telephone. That went down. Internet access, I don't know if that's contracted. Postage, that went down. Advertising, we're zeroing out that. Why are we zeroing that one out?
No, we're level funding.
Variance 0, yeah.
You're
Oh,
level-
sorry, we're level
Yeah.
funded.
A lot of people.
The variance is 0.
That may go down because I've heard the Grand State News is going out this to start in January 1.
We have to find another paper for some things.
We have requirements.
We still.
I know we do, but,
have to find another
so maybe
paper.
it'll end up going up because it might be more, but that's what some employees at the town of Wolfeboro told me, that they were informed by the Grand State News that they won't be operating starting January 1. So I'm gonna do some more research on that, because that would significantly impact our ability to communicate with residents and also
right.
to publicly post
Well, we
like
would do-
hearings and things.
Some districts have to just pick another paper that's not in their town,
Well, that's what I mean.
just to follow the law,
Oh.
and no one cares in the other
The
town.
union leader, they just have all the postings, and it's like sometimes 45 an hour away from.
Exactly,
From-
right. We pick
from
like
where they-
Conway or Rochester or something, because we have to do it somewhere.
But that's,
Yeah.
that's a Granite State.
Yeah, that's all Salmon
Yes.
Press.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe they're gonna consolidate them all into one paper. I
That's
need
what
to.
happens, yeah.
I have only heard this secondhand from, it was like 3 or 4 employees I saw this week at my work conference who were like, did you hear?
Contact the owner.
Oh, really? I'd love to know.
Oh, here we go.
Because I heard that and I was like, no, because I
Don't
read
worry,
it,
it's the best
I read it
way.
today. I read the Grunter every week. It's one of my favorite activities.
Okay.
Advertising, printing, that's down. Tuition is technically
Oh, yeah.
down.
Yeah,
Interesting.
by nothing, but that's okay.
Travel is down. General supplies is up a little bit. Now, what's up with that? Our actual in 2025 was down a lot more. Oh, it's the freeze again? Is it? No, because that's our actual for
Travel?
2025.
Are you talking about travel?
Oh, that is the freeze.
The freeze,
General
no,
supplies.
general supplies.
General supplies.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yes.
Not one
Let me
thing was
tell you.
bought after March.
Let me tell you.
Okay.
we-
Oh, yeah.
mhm.
There was nothing.
That was the
bought.
biggest hit.
That was
the
toilet
biggest,
paper.
right? That was the biggest heartburn.
So,
That one.
we won't touch that one.
Here we
Please
go.
don't.
Can't touch electricity. Testing materials, that was down. Can't touch bottled gas, heating oil, transportation fuel, books and other printed media. Now, what is this land and building improvements? That's carpenter?
Yes.
So we're-
Oh, mine's a
Okay.
big percentage. But it is what it is.
Education.
My fear is that if we go into a default budget, we won't have that money.
No, we have
Yeah.
to pay it, it's a contract I already signed.
Okay. Alright, never mind.
That's phase 2, so it's a whole contract, phase 1 and 2.
We did talk about that. It would have to be.
They did, that's right, they considered
Yeah.
warrant article or not, because
And
warrant
it's a
article.
and we're considered, it's a contracted cost.
And
Did we check with DRA about that? They-
They're the ones who told us to do it.
DRA's, okay, then.
I mean, you could put it
Listen,
in a
always
warrant
listen to
article, but we
DRA.
have to pay it anyway, and you don't want that.
Well, if the
What if
voters
it
say
did?
no, then it's
Then-
no.
Then we
and-
got a big problem.
Yeah, then we get into,
Exactly.
okay. New equipment, that's down significantly.
Yes, it is.
Yes, we made a big impact there with
New, new furniture, replacement equipment, that's down. Replacement vehicles.
That is up
Buses.
because the buses, she is desperate. She is actually sweating bullets.
So what I can.
Is that another lease buyout, or I remember we had
What
a
it
couple
is
lease
is-
buyouts?
Mhm.
She always goes leases for 3 years. So
Yeah.
once the 3 years are over, there's a buyout amount, and that's known right at the signing of the lease. So every fiscal year, we're finishing the final year of 3 bus leases and doing the buyout. And then she's got another rotation of 3 buses on a second-year lease, 3 buses on a first-year lease, and a brand new. She's also disposing. So she's selling off the buses and getting whatever money we can. We go out to bid for the sale of the buses, and that goes into revenue. So it's not like we can't put it into the expenditure line, but we're putting it into the miscellaneous revenue. And she is asking for 4 buses. Well, she's asking for 5 buses, but we did 4 because we were looking at a
We're looking at a grant.
to get a bus through a grant.
Oh, I thought
So
it was
she-
4 without the grant. Yeah.
She wanted 5, yeah, 4.
Could we do 3?
She cannot.
She cannot. do
I've
three.
gotta tell you, she works wonders, and the mechanics do too, but she's sold so many off that the thing is, she's saying, if you cut buses, you're gonna pay twice the amount in contracted services for transportation. It's cheaper to lease the buses and buy them at the end of the lease than it is if you take away her ability to have a driver drive a bus and have to contract out.
So,
Yes, so thank you, that she, and I see it as,
And we are, I sent it to Mary Ann as the whole grant eligibility, and we are eligible to replace 1 bus with a grant. And buses are what, 150,000?
about 132.
132,000, so this grant should.
school care assessment.
Mhm.
pull that out of the budget. Interesting principle.
One thing we should do about those is make sure that you tell people, here's your budget, and this reason is that school gets screwed up. When you deliver your speech, you can say schools get screwed up.
I don't know if I want to put it that, I might be more diplomatic, might say that.
You may.
Like, but I think, yes, you have a very
Yeah,
valid
and that
point,
way-
the
that way
570,000 is something worth flagging, because it'd be nice to calculate the budget without the school care assessment and show everyone.
Then it would really be down.
Yeah. Because what, if we took 570,000 out, we'd only be up 100,000 from just our other expenses subtotal, and our bottom line total would be, yeah, we would be really low.
Yeah.
I assume, Kathy, and correct me if I'm wrong, with our $20,000 increase, but then also our decrease of
All the new stuff.
I've gotta get-
yeah, the new staff.
Yeah, I'll do it, but I have to go to the legal one.
I'd love to see what the new bottom line is for the meeting, as just a percentage. Well, probably actually the variance in the percentage.
I'm just double checking.
Instead of looking into, I don't see personally any places where you could make additional reductions. I think the building principals came in with such lean, justifiable budgets, and I think we made, I think even our staff requests were very lean, and we still pulled some things back, that I think we felt comfortable with, so I think we'll look at this bottom line number and decide if we need to ask Kathy and Caroline to help us get creative. That's my opinion. I don't know how others feel. And I'm asking last year we did something like this.
What did that look like?
A little over 6.
Yeah, it was 6.2, 6.3.
Yeah.
No, maybe even higher than, no, it was 6.6. Because then default was 5.9. So the default was 5.9.
Yeah.
So even them voting down, it still went up 5.9%, but it was 6.6. And last year, the finance committee, while we did make some reduction, I think we started at 6.6, we made some reductions back down to 6.2. There wasn't as much flexibility that we felt in the staff to do that. Where in this year, it seemed like we had a little bit more flexibility with the staffing to make the reduction. But I mean, as you saw, even with the staff reduction,
It's pretty low. Yeah, this
yeah,
was.
we'll maybe get down to 3.9, which will look better than 4, and will be better than 4.
So by taking the numbers you wanted for the new staff, I entered those in. I'll obviously go back to the office and do it in the morning just to get it better, and I can send that out to all of you, and then adding 20,000 for the legal line. The bottom line, the very, very, very bottom line, that used to be 4.14%, is now at 3.82%.
Yes.
Okay. So that, because I remember my first year, we were what? We proposed a 3.9. We came in at 4.5. We came in at 3.9. So very similar to what we're doing this year.
Mhm.
So we're doing
Yeah.
reductions to new staff requests, and the building principals came in with much leaner budgets my first year. Last year was just there were a lot of things. Even I won't say the building principals didn't come in with leaner budgets, but there was just several things that impacted us.
Yeah, totally. And this year, everybody's just been through a budget freeze. That was a shock to the system. And this year, the budget failed.
Mhm.
So people are looking at, so the budget freeze, there were some silver linings. It made people reevaluate, hadn't happened in a really long time here. And then with the default, people are still coming out of that freeze like, what? And we're treating it like You know, people can't be ordering
Mm-mm.
as they used to.
Yeah.
It was the case that people would order things at the beginning of the year for the whole year, or at the end of the year for the whole next year. And we're only allowing them at the most quarterly, whether it's art supplies or software.
We've had pushback.
We've had
We've had
pushback and we have to
people.
talk to people. And it is what it is because we can't, you know, it's better to budget, you know, in smaller chunks throughout the year. So we're watching it carefully. So when people have had to go through this, they realize, oh, okay, we're gonna keep a leaner budget. And there's some things that they learned they could live without last spring.
What's the percentage without the school care?
Well, we actually saw that. Without school care and carpenter, it's like 2 something.
Okay, so if
I'd love to just say without school care though, because carpenter is our problem.
Sure.
I mean, school care is also our, and I shouldn't say problem. Carpenter is our responsibility.
It's part
And
of-
yes, the school care, those premium costs are our, you know, we are responsible for making sure our employees get their health care.
Right.
And that means that we have to pay the premiums.
Right.
Otherwise, they do not get their
Yeah.
claims submitted.
But it's not our.
But it is
financial
not, it was
mismanagement
not, yeah,
cost.
we
You didn't create it.
We
Didn't
didn't,
anticipate
we
it.
didn't create it, and you know, and there's complexities with school care where, you know, there are things out of their control, and there might have been things within their control that we've discussed, but I would just like to see, because that will be something we'll want to
I have-
discuss with the public.
So
Yeah.
taking the school care out, it makes it 2.98%.
Imagine, we would be at 2.98% this year.
And if the ceiling padding collapsed.
I'm not even, it's like, oh my God.
I know.
It kills me, that kills me so much.
We wanted that for you, really. So much.
Imagine if we came below 2%.
It'd be below like default probably.
It might be.
I gotta tell you, in sitting through, and obviously I'm the one who sees all the numbers, like everyone else sees parts of the numbers. I was really nervous with the lean budget that was submitted. It is a very lean budget, and I would really strongly, as the person who watches the numbers, ask that you really, I think what you've done here has been great, and I don't feel that there is any issue, but I ask
don't
you,
think they are.
don't
I was
touch
gonna,
anything
I
in
was
here.
just gonna ask you, my question was gonna be
Yeah.
Kathy, if we could do anything,
Oh my
or what
God.
what could even be considered, even if it was a little
Yeah.
painful, but you're
Yeah.
telling me we will already,
No.
it will be tight.
It would
We
be
have,
already
we have tightened our belts.
We have tightened
The only-
our belts.
Yeah, the only thing you could do is deny the middle school counseling center,
How much is that?
37,000. I don't think it's gonna move your percentage out of this many $1 million budget.
Yeah.
And it's the 3rd year she's come to you, but I wanna be honest, that is something you could reduce. But it's not going to impact your,
Let me see the percentage if it was reduced.
Yeah.
As a parent of a middle school child, can I just say that I have gotten several messages this year with last year about students having issues where they had to close the blinds and stuff. If they have a place to go that's comfortable, where they can relax privately, that would be amazing for them.
I can tell you, I know somebody who has to do it every day.
Yeah, I know.
And he really wants that room.
Really?
sounds like the community. Speaking
Yeah.
of Brody.
And I'd even go so far as.
Well, we
talking
approved it
about-
last year, so it'd be a
Yeah,
little
right.
ironic,
Yeah,
but.
yeah, you,
Yeah, and it's not like you're up, really.
and I would advise very strongly too, not to even look at supplies, because they couldn't buy any last year from March until the end of the year, unless it was curriculum driven.
I knew
They couldn't.
copying and supplies we can't really
They
touch because the
couldn't.
teachers, they're already on a tight budget this year. They couldn't buy any starting April, and
Mhm.
this will be, when this budget passes, this will be the first time they're able to buy adequate supplies probably in a year and a half. So obviously something else we should share with the public, you know? Okay, I mean, I do agree that having that facility upgraded at the middle school is important. So there's no other place where we can sharpen our pencils. If we sharpen any more, we might be
you're gonna under budget.
There's
and
so
you're
many,
not.
reductions on here.
What about, and my other question is revenues. How are we looking on revenues? I mean, I know the state doesn't,
We'll have that as part of your presentation.
Yeah.
okay, because
I mean,
that,
with, I've never had to count, count students. I haven't been in that loop to know how many for.
That we're receiving.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have the budget, the numbers for Middleton. And I usually look at the revenue and the tuition and see where the money came from. So I don't have an exact student cost, but I can see that it has gone up, and seeing that you guys have the MOU with Freedom and with Wakefield to increase. I could take a peek at that. It's not gonna be a whole heck of a
Well,
lot.
but I think it's important for,
Yes,
I think
so,
it's-
but I have that, so I'll
Oh, I
recognize
see.
that.
I think
in
it's
revenue.
important for reflecting, because it'd be nice to see what's gonna be the percentage increase for the tax effort, because they might see how much we expend, but
Right.
But something that we should honestly be sharing more with the taxpayers is expenditures can go up, and they can go up a higher percentage than what the actual tax effort is, how much they're taxing for this goes up.
Mhm.
Because, you know, I mean, yeah, so
The
our
more
budget,
revenues.
our spending is up 3.82%, but if we have revenues to offset some of that increased spending,
And we will.
then.
We will with that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a trade-off. So with the presentation, we always have a slide on revenue every year.
Yeah.
Remember, this year used $1 million of it to school care. So there isn't any this year. So that may come up as
Okay.
we're talking about revenues.
Yeah, and that's a
But
very great,
anticipated
good
for
point.
next year.
Yeah,
But
anticipate.
absolutely. As we
Tuition
talk about
might be
next
up higher.
year.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
so,
that.
And that's what, so, you know, if our revenue is up, I don't know, just using random whole numbers, like 20%,
Yeah.
that demonstrates that the tax effort will, you know, will be decreased a fair
Absolutely.
amount more.
And we
So
did
with-
increase the
yeah.
students from Wakefield.
Yeah, so my overarching point is that, like, the 3.82%, taxpayers will say, my taxes are gonna go up 3.82%. Not necessarily if the revenues are up.
Sure.
It might be more like 2.5 or 3%,
Yeah.
just, again, using random whole
Makes sense.
numbers, but, which is,
Good offset.
I think that's an important thing to explain
Mhm.
to the taxpayers now. And
Definitely.
again, that also impacts like state and federal revenues. If those revenues are down, it's important to know that if people's tax bills go up 4% or 5%, it's, well, our spending only went up 3.82%. What happened was the folks who are supposed to be helping us in this enterprise of public education, this public good and service,
Mhm.
they are not upholding their end of the bargain,
Mhm, mhm.
right? So I think that's important to show people too.
Right.
All these moving parts that, because they just see 3.82%, and then they just see the whole number on the warrant article.
Yeah.
But it's nice when we're trying to educate people, especially people who might have their minds changed to vote for it,
Yeah.
who didn't vote for it last year. Those might be compelling items.
I hope so, absolutely.
All right, well, then I'll make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to recommend the proposed fiscal year 2027 budget with the amendments with the changes that we made or whatever, with the edits made.
Yeah.
So with this 3.82%.
Questions, one, number two? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sounds so enthusiastic.
Now we have warrant articles.
Yes, so the building maintenance, those two were already moved to the full board from the building maintenance committee.
I've forgotten, that was, we had a discussion of the $87,000 stuff.
Oh, so you definitely, you talked about the turf, and you
And-
you
And
decided
it was
not
there,
to.
it was already there.
There's a
Year one
balance.
grace period.
There was a balance, and so that was part of the conversation, and that is around what, you know, if you usually put 60 in, you basically have a year's worth in there, and you're fresh off the turf. I think, and that meeting was a while ago. The turf had just
It was
finished
fun.
up, and so it felt like, okay, we can take a year off. That's where the committee landed, yeah. And one of them is unreserved and one of them is revenue, is that? Sorry, one of them is unreserved fund balance.
Correct.
And
the
one
other
is raise and appropriate.
So usually the 1 year, the one-time deal that gets rolled into the operating budget is just raise and appropriate.
Okay.
And that was the 200,000. And then the 50,000 was for the trust, to go into the trust, and that was for.
Capital reserve trust.
Yeah, unreserved fund balance.
Okay, so the trust is, yeah, but 200 is to raise and appropriate.
Okay, so it's gonna be for the buildings and maintenance warrant article, that's the raise and appropriate, that's 200,000.
Mhm.
And then for the buildings and maintenance trust warrant article, which is to use unexpended fund balance,
Yeah.
so any money left over,
Yeah.
that's gonna be,
50,000, that's what they rolled it out.
just 50,000?
Yeah, yeah. I
I think
went back to
because
my
they
notes.
increased the other one.
We bumped to 200,000.
It had been like 150 for quite a few years. It originally
The
was.
committee didn't think it wanted more than 50,000 saved into the,
I think they're
It's a
trying,
high balance.
for the buildings and maintenance?
Oh, no, that was drained.
I think because of the special ed, you want to make sure you build that up, so.
So we're gonna prioritize building that up?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking you guys, you guys decided that you're gonna make a
They
recommendation.
didn't decide, I
They
mean,
didn't
special.
decide.
Yeah,
We
they-
didn't
Right.
talk about the stuff.
Not this,
No.
oh, okay.
But
As
because the
building and
special ed,
maintenance. Mhm.
Okay,
It's
so,
gone.
so is the admin basically advising the committees that then will advise the board, and then you guys will advise the entire board? 200,000 raised and appropriated for the buildings and maintenance warrant article, 50,000 for the buildings and maintenance trust fund from unassigned fund balance. And then you're gonna ask for 250,000 for the, from the unassigned fund balance into the special education?
Yes,
And is that what you're gonna ask us to vote on right now?
yes, sir.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Unreserved fund balance, so,
If
I
it's
can wait
there,
for a
it's there.
motion.
If it's not there, it's not there.
right,
Correct.
and you say up to, and then that way. because-
My only thing is I feel like we need to put more in the buildings and maintenance trust. one.
I think let's do it this way though. Let's do 50,000 this year, and next year, from there.
And you know what? And the other thing is, since that was already at committee, you can discuss, you have to,
Yeah, I think the full board's
the
gonna
full
have a
board
broader-
now, since the committee already moved it up, this committee shouldn't vote on that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But you can definitely do that later.
I'll make a motion that we present to the board a warrant article to expend $250,000 from unassigned fund balance into our special education trust.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I have one other thing I'd like to bring up.
Go for it.
Because I remember I mentioned, when did I mention this? I had mentioned a health insurance trust.
Ah, yeah.
I'm wondering if we want to establish a health insurance trust and to
That's
make
a good idea.
the board the agents to expend,
Yeah.
and then put 50,000 of unassigned funds into it.
Yeah.
So-
Can you repeat that, 50,000?
50,000 from unassigned funds, so us to be the agents to expend, and 50,000 of unassigned funds.
Mhm.
That's my motion.
I'll second.
And I think the reason is, I think broader discussion later on whether or not we,
Okay, we'll talk about it.
well,
Right.
either no matter what, we're gonna need to put money into this. If we stay with a risk pool, which could be very likely, we might wanna consider putting premium holidays into this trust fund.
Yeah.
So then if assessments do come, we aren't using,
There's something there.
there's money there, or if we do leave, or if we decide not to put premium, it doesn't matter, we still are saving money as we are with our special education and buildings and maintenance.
I want to read something to you because there is already an established fund, but it's not stated that way.
Can always take an already existing fund and repurpose it with
That's what I mean, you
permission
have
from
to
the
go through
legislative
it.
body, so
Yeah, great.
I'd like to hear that,
Yes,
because then
I've
that
got
may,
it
we
fine
might
with
withdraw
you.
our motion in second and.
No, you'll still have to do it.
Well, still, so do you want us to
Yeah.
vote on this one?
Yes, please, yes.
Oh, you did.
Oh, did we vote? No, we haven't voted on
We have a
that.
first and second.
Oh,
And so the full board will vote on the order.
Yeah, and I didn't know if we would want to recommend an order.
That's up to you.
You guys want to recommend, the order matters, because when you start to run out of your unassigned funds, you fund the warrant articles by the order they are placed on the warrant. And the order of the warrant, is set by the governing body, but the legislative body is allowed to change the order at deliberative session. Which I don't think they ever would. I think the fact I just said it, maybe I just gave someone an idea somewhere, but I know that they're allowed to do that, and the moderator would know too, and also they can just use Google. But I don't think they would really, I don't think people would actually care. But the order matters because if we get limited on funds towards the end of the year, there might be some that don't get funded, or there might be some that, get less. So I think it might not be unreasonable for the finance committee to weigh in and say this might be the order that we want to prioritize.
So the budget is always first.
Yeah.
Then the collective bargaining.
And then the CBA is always second.
And then the what if after that.
And then you decide, I'm gonna put a plug in for special education.
Well, we probably want to put all the money, all the ones that raise and appropriate money go first.
Sure, yeah.
And then,
Because those are in red.
yeah, and then what we want to consider is so it'd be buildings and maintenance.
Is third, and then that's it.
Yeah, so the rest would all be, so that, the order of the rest of them though is what matters, so the
Budget.
ones.
Budget is first, and then we'll do
CDA, then building and maintenance, raising appropriate, the one that's warrant, that's 200.
And then you want to go with the,
So do
okay.
you think special ed is the next most important one?
Yeah, maybe that would be that, put this way. Kelly Tierney actually said, I can make it look at that budget, and I'm saying, all we gotta do is have one kid, that's our Spalding.
Correct. They can move in literally tomorrow.
250,000 goes.
250.
Okay.
So
So,
that's the trouble, the unanticipated event.
Or if you heard her say about the parents who are expecting higher services
Yeah.
than what's required.
then I think, so I agree, and then I think the buildings and maintenance, and then the health insurance one, because we probably, that
So
is.
the building and maintenance, 50,000.
Yeah.
Or building and maintenance, 5, and then health. Oh, are you interested in the student wellness coordinator?
And next year.
Oh, we didn't get the meals. Well, those would go before all these unassigned fund balance
Yes,
ones.
if you were, then that would go. I mean, it's
After
raise
the
and
CB.
appropriate, so the order is less important.
Yeah,
they're-
it doesn't, because it's.
They're on their own.
Yeah, it's yes or no. If they vote no, then it is what it is, but it's, if all the warrants get passed,
Yeah.
or the ones that are all the unassigned ones get passed, they get funded in the order that they're placed. That's where the order really matters.
That's
so.
what the order matters. So
Um,
your unassigned are special ed, building and maintenance, and the health
Yeah.
fund. So it sounds like you're saying special ed, building, maintenance, and then health?
Yeah.
Those three in that order?
I mean, that's what we would recommend, that order for the, unassigned fund warrant articles.
Yeah.
So all I have, I'm gonna have to look, I have meeting minutes when this trust was created, which has more of a definition. But all I have here, it's called the Health Trust Fund, and there's about $41,000 in it. And it just says to maintain health insurance fund on my sheet.
I bet it's from when we were self-insured.
It was established in March of 1990, but like I said, I can pull the meetings
It's
in.
a long time ago.
I bet it was from when we were
And
self-insured.
so you have 41,000.
And we haven't
Because I think
touched
we
it.
were self-insured that long. I've heard from people, although I can't find any evidence of it, that Governor Wentworth was at one time self-insured, and that would make sense. You would have, if you self-insured, you would have a trust
Yeah.
fund.
You have to
And
Or
then
you
the
would-
teeny
back up.
tiny.
Yeah.
But if
Jack
you
would
want to
know.
repurpose that would have to go before the voters to say that you want that to be closed out. I'm not sure Barbara Loma could tell you whether she'd say you'd have to zero that out and create a new one. But
it's like-
saying zeroing out would, you'd want it to say it's going into the newly established health.
Right.
Let's find out
Or
what
they
that
could
one's
just
even
use it,
for.
though. Couldn't
Yeah.
you just use that
I don't know. I'd have
You
to
know, like,
pull
so if
the
you had an
minutes.
assessment,
Yeah.
You
you
have to-
could use money from that.
You
and-
have to find out what the purpose is.
Yes,
So you have to go back to the
Sure.
warrant article that
Yeah.
established that trust fund and
Mhm.
figure out what the legislative body
Yeah.
even permitted it for.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, if we were to do a warrant article to spend that money, you would have to explain what the original intent was and ask the legislative body to change the intent.
Yeah.
So we literally just have to go, and who knows, we might not have documentation for it.
It sounds pretty
I think there
straightforward.
is documentation.
Is there?
Just, there's meeting minutes, official meeting minutes on how that, all of that started. I've looked back, when I first started here, I wanted to see how all of this got started, just so that I understood how it was being used. And I know I ran across some meeting minutes on that.
Well, we'll
It's in the
draft,
vault.
we'll draft a warrant article just in case we're establishing one for health insurance.
Which
costs.
is a good thing to do, because if one fails and the other one succeeds, then that money goes into unreserved fund balance and you lose it.
Oh.
So maybe it's good to hold on to this as is, create the new one, and then ask for the following year for this to be repurposed and the money to be moved, flowed into the newly established.
Or this could also be a trust that meets what we need.
Yeah.
With
Right,
us
and
as
that
expended
would be-
agents,
Right, and
then
that's
we-
what I mean.
and that would be very
Right.
simple. Let's
Yeah.
just
Then
have
you just
Barbara
spend-
draft something, just so we have something for the board, and we'll have everything researched hopefully by then, or the final budget hearing.
Are you saying that you wanna do that now?
What?
Have her draft something for the
No,
old account?
not for the old one,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
for a new one.
Oh, yeah.
But we can have her look into, if I find the meeting
Sure.
minutes.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
we'll have her look into the other
I
thing,
see.
but we'll, because the finance committee's already voted to recommend
Yeah.
Yeah.
a warrant article to, you know, what we mentioned, making the board expending agents for a health insurance trust
Mhm.
fund
Okay.
and putting $50,000 of unassigned funds into it. But we probably wanna vote on the order of the unassigned
We need a
fund.
couple of votes. The order of the unassigned fund warrants, and if you want any additional student wellness or meals.
Oh. You guys wanna, maybe take up each one individually, Dr. Jim?
We should.
I'll make a motion to recommend $250,000 student meals, warrant article, identical to last year's. No discussion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're good.
And what's the student wellness coordinator?
Same as last
Mhm.
year. Yes.
How much, what's the bottom line for the student wellness coordinator?
Last year we did it at, 100, no, did we do it? No, that was the DPT in Middleton. So let me go back to my spreadsheet.
Oh, for a warrant,
Yeah. It's on
we
the
proposed
spreadsheet.
it in the regular
Yeah.
budget, and which failed, so we couldn't.
But we need to
Yeah.
know the dollar amount for total
Yeah, the dollar amount.
benefits.
Absolutely.
If I can find that.
And that needs to be well worded, so people understand
Yeah.
what
Absolutely.
it
Yeah.
is.
Definitely.
Okay. So, the student wellness coordinator was budgeted at, placed at 78,229 for wages. And benefits total 57,871. We've got let's just round it, $135,300.
Alright. I'll make a motion that we recommend a warrant article, to fund a student wellness coordinator, the cost of $135,000.
Question, is that we're
Raise and appropriate.
We're raising it.
Have to raise it.
We're raising
For
it.
wages, yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Motion second?
Yes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded it?
Kayla.
Okay.
Without everything you need from
We've got
us?
meals, we've got coordinator,
Mhm.
we need order.
Oh, order, the order that we discussed, is that fine? Do you wanna reiterate to us,
The
Carolyn?
order
what we-
being for unassigned fund balance is special ed would be first at 250, building and maintenance would be second
50.
At
Oh, that's the
50.
50.
Health would be third at 50. And you already voted on those amounts. So that's the order on the one.
I think there was already a motion previously, but I'll motion that the order that the finance committee recommends the warrant articles that are funded through unassigned fund balance go.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're on, adjourn. We're done.
I think that's all we need.
Go watch Josh and
Is that
Hannah
it?
start taking
Yep.
it home. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I guess we're ready to go.
Adjourned.